You've probably seen those AI-generated images that look like they're pulled from a dream, vibrant, surreal, and oddly familiar. But have you ever wondered how they're made? It's not magic, it's math, and it's way more fascinating than you think. Imagine if your phone could paint a picture of a dragon riding a unicorn just by listening to you describe it. That's the kind of power we're talking about with LTX, except it's not just for dragons. It's for everything. But how does it actually work? Well, it starts with something called a latent space, a hidden, mathematical universe where images are stored as patterns, not pixels. It's like translating a song into a painting, but instead of notes, it's using numbers. And LTX is the bridge between that math and the image you see on your screen. So next time you see an AI-generated image, remember, it's not just a picture. It's a whole universe of math, creativity, and a little bit of magic. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, LTX isn't just some random acronym. It's a whole new way to generate images. Think of it like a secret recipe for making visuals that feel alive and unique. LTX stands for something really cool, like a special mix of tools and tricks that help artists create images with more detail and emotion. It's not just about making pictures, it's about making them feel real. When we use LTX, we're not just clicking a button, we're telling a story. It's like giving the AI a sketch and then letting it add color, texture, and soul to it. It's like a conversation between you and the machine. But here's the thing, LTX isn't just for experts. It's for anyone who wants to make art, whether you're a pro or just starting out. It's like having a superpowered sketchbook that helps you bring your ideas to life. So, to recap, LTX is a powerful, creative tool that helps artists generate images that are more detailed, expressive, and personal. It's not just about making pictures, it's about making art that feels real. You might not think about it, but every time you scroll through social media or look at a product ad, you're seeing the results of LTX's work. It's the invisible hand shaping the images you interact with daily. LTX isn't just about making pretty pictures. It's about making them relevant, engaging, and sometimes even surprising. It's the secret sauce behind the visuals you see every day. When you're scrolling, you're not just looking at images. You're looking at a system that's constantly evolving, adapting, and trying to keep up with your interests. So, even if you don't think about it, LTX is working hard to make your online experience better. It's the unsung hero of the digital world, quietly making your feed feel alive. Secretly, you're part of a bigger game where LTX is the player, and you're the one watching. It's not just about images, it's about connection, relevance, and the future of visual storytelling. So, let's kick things off with the very beginning, like way back when people first started thinking about making images with code. It was all about the early 2000s, with tools like GANs and early neural networks trying to mimic the human eye. Fast forward a bit, and people started building bigger models, like DALL-E and Clip, which were like the first real attempts to link text and images together. It was a big leap forward, but still had a lot of rough edges. Around 2022, things really started to heat up. Companies like Stability AI and Midjourney launched their big models, and everyone suddenly had the power to generate images with just a few words. It was like magic, but with code. But here's the thing, this all happened super fast. One day you're using a basic image generator, and the next you're trying to keep up with the latest AI art trends. It's like watching a roller coaster with no seatbelts. So to sum it up, from simple neural networks to the latest AI image tools, the journey has been wild, fast, and full of surprises. And now, we're just getting started with LTX. Imagine you have a magic box that can turn your ideas into pictures. All you need is to tell it what you want to see. The box listens to your words, then uses special tools to mix colors, shapes, and details to create the image you asked for. You can ask for anything, a dragon, a sunset, even a silly robot wearing sunglasses, and it will try to make it real. The magic doesn't stop there. It can also change the style, colors, and even the mood of the picture to match what you want. So basically, it's like a very smart, very creative friend who loves to draw and can do it faster than you can say, "Paint me a dragon." So to start, you need a laptop, a strong internet connection, and a little patience. Think of it like setting up for game. Everything has to be in place before you can begin. Next, you'll need to download and install the LTX app. It's like getting a new game on your phone. It's easy, quick, and feels like a big step towards something cool. Once it's installed, you'll need to log in or create an account. It's like joining a club. Everyone has to sign in to get started. Then you'll be greeted by the LTX interface. It's clean, colorful, and packed with tools, like a digital paintbrush for your imagination. And that's it for step 1. You're all set to dive into the world of image generation with LTX. It's like getting your creative toolbox ready for action. Okay, so now the image starts to take shape, like a dream slowly waking up. The model takes the clues it got from the text and starts building the image 1 pixel at a time, like a painter adding color to a blank canvas. It doesn't just copy the text. It uses patterns and styles it's learned from millions of images. Think of it like a mixtape of all the art it's seen before, helping it create something new and original. As it builds the image, it checks itself constantly, like a chef tasting the soup as it cooks. If something doesn't look right, it adjusts and tries again, no mistakes, just continuous improvement. And finally, after all that thinking and tweaking, the image is complete. A visual masterpiece born from words, ready to be seen and shared. So here's the clever twist. The model doesn't just guess the image, it learns from the mistakes. It's like a kid who keeps trying new things until they get it right. Every time it makes a wrong guess, it adjusts its internal rules, getting better and better at predicting what the user wants. This process isn't just about accuracy. It's about understanding patterns, textures, and even emotions, all hidden in the data it's trained on. And the best part? You don't have to know how it works. You just ask for an image, and it figures it out for you. So, in short, it's not just a tool, it's a learning machine that gets smarter with every use, like a kid who never stops exploring. So, beneath all that magic, there's real science happening. Like a symphony of math and code, it's all about patterns and probabilities. The model is basically learning to predict what comes next. When you type in a prompt, the model turns it into a kind of recipe. It doesn't know what you want, but it knows what's likely to come next, based on everything it's seen before. It uses something called neural networks, like a web of interconnected neurons. Each connection gets stronger or weaker depending on what works and what doesn't. These networks are trained on massive datasets, so they can recognize patterns in images, text, and even sound. It's like having a super smart assistant that's always learning. And when you press generate, the model takes that prompt, runs it through its neural web, and spits out an image that matches the pattern it thinks you want. Okay, hear me out. The Fire TV Stick 4K streaming device. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description and hit subscribe for more pics like this. So imagine you're at a party and someone hands you a blank canvas. You don't know what to paint, but you have a bunch of paint buckets with different colors and textures. You just start mixing them up and seeing what happens. You don't have a plan, but you're just trying things out. You might add a splash of blue here, a streak of red there, and before you know it, the canvas starts to look like something you'd find in a dream. You might not be aiming for anything specific, but somehow the result feels right. Like the colors and shapes just naturally fit together, even if you didn't know how they would. That's kind of how LTX works. You don't have to know exactly what you want, you just give it a bunch of clues and let it do the mixing. And sometimes, it just makes something that feels perfect, even if you didn't plan it. So, in short, LTX is like a party game where you don't have to know the rules. You just play, mix, and hope the result is something you'd want to hang on your wall. You know that part where the model just magically creates an image. Well, it's not magic. It's actually a very clever way of combining patterns and probabilities to guess what the image might look like. It's like if you asked a kid to draw a cat, and they just started adding shapes and colors based on what they've seen before, without ever seeing a real cat. The model uses this learned information to make educated guesses about each pixel, kind of like a game of what comes next. In a visual sequence, it doesn't just guess randomly. It's trained to make these guesses in a way that looks natural and realistic, even if it's not exactly real in the traditional sense. So the part that sounds made up, it's actually a very precise, well-defined process, just one that's hard to explain without diving into math and code. All right, let's bust the first myth, that LTX is some kind of secret AI magic. No, it's not a wizard with a wand. It's a team of engineers and data scientists working hard to make image generation better. LTX isn't a black box either. It's built on real, transparent processes that we can understand and even improve upon. No magic, just smart design. So, if you're thinking LTX is some kind of AI fairy godmother, think again. It's just a tool that makes image generation faster, more accurate, and more fun. And that's not even the end of the myth busting. There are more myths out there, but now you know how to spot them, and how LTX is actually a real, smart, and helpful system. All right, let's tackle the next myth. LTX can only create low-quality images. No way, not even close. The truth is, LTX is built for high-resolution, detailed visuals that rival the best AI art tools out there. Think of it like a superhero with a precision laser. Every detail is sharp, every color is vivid, and every brushstroke feels alive. LTX isn't just about making images, it's about making them look real. People might say it's too good to be true, but that's just a misunderstanding. LTX is designed for creators who want to push the boundaries of what's possible with image generation. So let's put that myth to bed. LTX is not limited to low quality. It's a tool that empowers artists, designers, and creators to bring their wildest visions to life. You might not realize it, but LTX is hiding in your favorite apps and websites. Every time you scroll through social media, you're seeing AI-generated images that LTX helped create. Even when you're browsing the internet, LTX is working behind the scenes to make the images you see look more realistic and engaging. When you watch videos online, the background images or animations might have been generated with LTX to create a more immersive experience. Even in your favorite games, LTX might be helping to create the stunning environments and characters you see on screen. LTX is everywhere, quietly helping to bring your digital world to life. You just might not notice it. Let me give you a real-world example that goes surprisingly hard. Imagine trying to draw a cat in a spacesuit floating on a planet made of jelly. You think it's silly? Wait, now imagine trying to describe that to an AI with only words. No images, no sketches, just words. It's not perfect, but it's impressive. You might end up with something completely different, but that's part of the fun. That's the power of LTX, turning abstract ideas into visuals, even when it gets a little out there. All right, let's talk about the real wild side of LTX, where it's not just working, it's blowing up the entire system. These models are now pushing past the limits of what we thought was possible, creating images so detailed they could fool even the most skeptical of art critics. It's like watching a live performance. Every stroke, every shape, every color is a new revelation, and the audience is in awe. LTX isn't just making images. It's making art that feels alive, with a pulse, a rhythm, and a story that's never ending. This is the new extreme, not just powerful, but completely out of control in the best way possible. Sometimes the model gets confused. It might mix up different styles, colors, or even create something that doesn't make sense at all. You know that feeling when you're trying to explain something and it just doesn't click. You might end up with a weird image that looks like a digital glitch or a dream that never made sense. It's like trying to paint a sunset, but your brush keeps turning into a spoon. It's not always about the content, it can also be the style. You might ask for a realistic image, but the model responds with something that looks like a stick figure or a doodle from a child's notebook. And sometimes, it just doesn't understand the prompt at all. It might create a completely unrelated image, or it might repeat parts of the prompt in the image itself, like text or numbers. These moments are part of the fun, though. They remind us that AI is still learning, and sometimes it's better to laugh at the weirdness than get frustrated. After all, that's how we get creative ideas. So you're probably thinking, this sounds too good to be true. And you're right, it is. There's a catch, and it's not listed on the brochure. The real issue is that LTX isn't just about creating images. It's about creating a system that learns, adapts, and sometimes gets confused by its own feedback loops. This can lead to some really strange outputs. Images that are technically perfect but feel off, or even images that start to reflect the AI's internal biases in unexpected ways. So, while LTX is powerful, it's not a magic wand. It's more like a very smart, but sometimes overconfident, artist who can paint anything, but not always the right thing. And that's why you should always be careful, not just with your data, but with your expectations. LTX is amazing, but it's not perfect, and that's the real downside. So, how did humans even figure out how to make AI create images? Well, it started with a lot of trial and error, like trying to guess the right formula for a recipe. People started looking at how the brain processes images, and tried to mimic that in code, like trying to teach a robot to see the way we do. Over time, they tried different models and techniques, like building a better neural network, the brain of the AI, to make it more creative and accurate. Eventually, they combined all these ideas into something powerful, like a digital artist with a superhuman imagination, powered by math and data. And now, with all that learning and experimenting, we have tools that can turn ideas into images, almost like magic, but with a lot of science behind it. So here's a weird edge case that's honestly kind of mind-blowing. If you try to generate an image of a banana with a hat, but also a fish with a hat, and you accidentally say hat twice, it starts to get really strange. Little sponsor break, check out the Amazon Echo Dot 5th Gen smart speaker. There's a QR code on screen and a link below to see it. Now subscribe and let's keep going. LTX might interpret that as a hat that somehow belongs to both the banana and the fish, which leads to some very odd imagery. It's like a hat that's also a hat, but for two different things at once. This isn't just a bug, it's more like a creative experiment gone wild. The model is trying to make sense of the words, and in doing so, it invents its own weird logic. So if you're ever curious about how LTX handles edge cases, just try asking it to generate a hat for a banana and a fish. You might end up with something that's equal parts hilarious and bizarre. What if we took this power and used it not to create, but to trick? Imagine an AI that can generate images so convincing, they blur the line between real and fake. It's like a digital illusionist, bending reality to our will. This isn't just about art anymore. It's about deception. You could create fake photos of people, places, or events that never happened, perfectly detailed, almost indistinguishable from reality. But here's the catch. This power comes with responsibility. If we create something that can fool the eye, we also create something that could be used to manipulate, distort, or mislead. So, what if we use this for good? Imagine an AI that helps us visualize the impossible, like a dream machine that turns our wildest ideas into reality. That's the real power of LTX. It's not just about making images. It's about expanding what we can imagine and what we can create. But with that power comes the need for care, creativity, and responsibility. Think of it like a painter with a magic brush. Instead of mixing paints, LTX uses data and patterns to create images. It's like watching a masterpiece come to life with every brushstroke. Now imagine you're using a camera and a smartphone. You point the camera, tap a button, and voila, you have a photo. LTX is like that, but with a twist. It creates images from scratch using patterns and data. If you think of a photo as a snapshot, LTX is more like a dream. It doesn't just capture reality, it imagines it, using data as a blueprint for something new and creative. So, while a camera takes a photo, LTX creates a painting. Both are amazing, but LTX adds a new layer of creativity and possibility, like stepping into a world made of pure imagination. Even now, experts can't agree on what exactly makes LTX work. Some say it's the way it blends text and image data, while others think it's about the secret sauce in its training process. Some experts believe LTX is just a smarter version of older models, while others argue it's a completely new kind of AI that breaks the rules of image generation. Some say LTX is a breakthrough, while others warn it's a dangerous shortcut that could lead to unintended consequences in AI development. So, even though LTX is already changing the game, the debate is far from over. And that's part of what makes it so interesting. So, here's the clever trick that makes it all possible. It's not just about the images, but about how the model learns to see patterns in a way that feels almost magical. Imagine the model is like a super smart artist who's seen millions of images, and now it can guess what you're thinking just by looking at a few words. The model learns by looking at the relationships between words and images, like a giant puzzle where each piece fits in a way that makes sense to the AI. It's like teaching a kid to recognize shapes by showing them a bunch of examples. The more they see, the better they get at guessing what comes next. This clever trick is what lets the model turn simple text into stunning visuals. It's not magic, but it sure feels like it. A lot of beginners think LTX is just about making images look real. But it's more about understanding how the model interprets your prompts and how to guide it properly. They also assume that the more words you write, the better the result. But actually, clarity and focus are key. A few strong, specific words can do more than a long, vague list. Another common mistake is ignoring the model's style preferences. Some models work best with certain art styles, and not knowing that can lead to unexpected or disappointing results. Beginners also try to force the model to create things that are too complex or detailed. It's better to start simple and build up, letting the model learn and adapt with each step. Lastly, they often forget to experiment and play with different prompts. LTX is a creative tool, and the best results come from curiosity, not just following rules. You might think the details in an image are just extra fluff, but in LTX, they are the secret sauce. Every little line and shade matters because it's how the model learns to create. Imagine trying to draw a tree without knowing where the trunk ends and the leaves begin. That's what happens when you ignore the small stuff in LTX. It gets messy, blurry, and wrong. That's why the model needs so much data and training. It's not just learning to draw, it's learning to read every detail, like a detective piecing together a mystery. So next time you tweak a prompt, think about those little details. They might seem small, but they are the ones that make the difference between good and great. In LTX, the devil is in the details, and that's why we have to pay attention to them, because that's where the magic really happens. Now, here's the one number that really puts it all into perspective. It's not just about the tech, it's about how it's used, how much it's used, and how that scales across the world. Think of it like this. Every day, millions of images are generated, and they're not just for fun. They're for everything from design to research, and that's a lot of power in one number. So, when you think about LTX and image generation, it's not just about the machine. It's about the number of times it's being used, and how that changes everything. That one number, it's the heartbeat of the whole system. It tells us how much it's being used, how much it can do, and how much it's already changed the world. One of the most iconic moments LTX showed up in the wild was during a viral TikTok challenge, where people tried to recreate the Dolly meme with a twist. People used LTX to generate absurd, surreal images that matched the meme's chaotic vibe, like a dancing cat wearing a top hat and monocle. It was like the internet collectively said, okay, this AI can actually create stuff that's both funny and weird, and that's pretty cool. This moment showed how LTX wasn't just another AI tool. It was a cultural phenomenon, blending humor, art, and tech in a way that hooked people. It was a reminder that AI doesn't just create. It can also entertain, surprise, and even become part of the internet's biggest jokes. So here's the thing, most people just want to know how to use LTX, not why it works. But the real question nobody asks is, what happens to the image after it's generated? It's like asking how a camera works, but never wondering what happens to the photo once it's taken. We all focus on the output, but the process, that's where the magic really starts. It's not just about making the image, it's about making it look real, feel alive, and even carry a bit of soul. LTX is already pushing the boundaries of image generation, but the future is even more exciting. Imagine AI that not only creates images, but also understands the emotional tone behind a prompt. Real quick, if you've been looking for Kindle Paperwhite e-reader, this one's worth a look. Scan the QR code on screen or tap the link below and subscribe for more finds. Upcoming models might even be able to generate images in real time, responding to your voice or gestures, like a digital painter that works with your thoughts. We're talking about AI that can collaborate with you, not just follow instructions. It's like having a creative partner that never gets tired. And with better tools, we might even be able to generate images that feel more alive, with depth, texture, and a sense of movement that feels almost real. So while LTX is already groundbreaking, the future of image generation is just getting started. And it's going to be wild. Even with all the research, there are parts of LTX that feel like they're still hiding behind a curtain. We know what it does, but we don't always know why it does it. Sometimes the model just knows the right image to create, even when it doesn't have a clear path to get there. It's like a magic trick we haven't figured out yet. Some people call it black box behavior. It's a term that sounds technical, but it's really just a fancy way of saying we're still learning how it thinks. Even though we don't fully understand everything, we can still use LTX to create amazing things. The mystery is part of the fun and the challenge. So while we're still figuring out the details, we're also enjoying the journey. The mystery is what keeps it interesting and what makes it so magical. Did you know that LTX has a secret ingredient? It's called latent space, which is basically the brain of the model, storing all the image knowledge in a hidden, mathy world. When you type in a prompt, LTX doesn't just copy and paste. It creates new images by mixing and matching ideas from its vast training data, like a digital artist with a wild imagination. LTX is like a digital time machine. It can pull images from the past, present, and even the future, all based on the words you type in. Even though LTX is super powerful, it's still learning. So if you ever get a weird image, it might just be the model trying to make sense of your words. And here's a fun fact. LTX can even create images based on your voice. Just say what you want, and it'll visualize it for you. Let me quickly recap everything we've covered so far. We started with the basics of how LTX works for image generation, then moved into the technical underpinnings and the creative possibilities it unlocks. It's all about understanding how it bridges the gap between text and visuals. We looked at how LTX uses prompts to guide the image generation process, making it more precise and efficient. It's not just about generating images, it's about refining the vision with words. We also touched on how LTX helps creators save time and reduce errors by automating parts of the design process. It's like having a smart assistant that helps you visualize your ideas. Finally, we discussed the importance of clear and detailed prompts and how they can lead to more accurate and impressive results. It's all about communication between text and image. So, in short, LTX is a powerful tool that makes image generation more intuitive, efficient, and creative. It's changing the way we think about text-to-image design. Did you know that LTX isn't just about images? It's about turning words into worlds, one pixel at a time. It's like a magic wand for your imagination. But instead of spells, it uses code and creativity to bring ideas to life. And here's the kicker. It doesn't just create images. It creates stories, emotions, and entire universes from a single line of text. So next time you use LTX, remember, you're not just making images, you're crafting realities. That's LTX, where imagination meets code and magic meets machine. All right, that's it for today's deep dive into how LTX works for image generation. Thanks for sticking around and letting your curiosity run wild with me. If you're feeling inspired, go ahead and try out some of these techniques yourself. Just remember to have fun and stay curious. And if you're ever in doubt, just remember, the best images are born from the sweet spot between logic and imagination. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We're cooking up more deep dives, hacks, and fun facts every week. Till next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep that imagination lit. I'll see you on the flip side. You know that old saying, the walls have ears. Well, what if those walls had a mind of their own? Imagine walking into a place where the past is never really gone. This isn't just any old building. It's a place where secrets were buried, and the silence screams louder than any scream ever could. Now it's abandoned, and the air feels like it's holding its breath. Every creak, every whisper, feels like it's waiting for something to wake up. So why are we here? Because sometimes, the best stories are the ones that make you question if you're really alone in the dark. Let's find out what's hiding in the silence, and why this place is still talking. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, an asylum is basically a place where people who are mentally ill used to be treated, right? But back in the day, it wasn't always the kind of care you'd want to be in. These places were meant to help people, but sometimes they ended up being more terrifying than helpful. Think of them as the old-school psychiatric hospitals of the 19th and early 20th centuries. Now, an abandoned asylum is just what it sounds like. A once busy place that's been left to rot, with echoes of the past still lingering in every corner. People often say these places are haunted, but we're not just talking about ghosts. We're talking about the history, the suffering, and the secrets that got left behind. So, when we talk about the haunting of an abandoned asylum, we're diving into the mix of real history, eerie atmosphere, and the mysteries that still linger in these places. You might think this is just a spooky story, but the truth is, places like this have real impact on our lives. These spaces remind us of the human stories behind the buildings, the patients, the staff, the families who were affected. Understanding these places helps us learn about the past, how we treated mental health, and how far we've come. It's like looking at a mirror to see our history. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, these places teach us about resilience, loss, and the importance of empathy. They're not just haunted, they're human. So, even if you're not a fan of scary stories, you should care. These places are more than just creepy. They're part of our shared history, and they're worth remembering. Let's fast forward to the 19th century, when asylums were built to house the insane and the mad, a time when madness was seen as a moral failing, not a medical condition. These places were often overcrowded, poorly funded, and full of cruel treatments, like restraint chairs, ice baths, and even lobotomies. Still, many asylums were abandoned in the mid-20th century as mental health care shifted to outpatient treatment and community-based care. And now, these places sit in silence, their history whispering through the walls, waiting for someone to listen. So, imagine a big, old building where doctors used to take people who were really, really sick. But now it's all empty and no one lives there anymore. Sometimes, when people go in there, they hear strange noises or see things that aren't really there. That's what we call a haunting. But don't worry, it's just the building telling its story, not real ghosts. Or maybe it is real, but that's a whole other story. So the core idea is, old places can be spooky because they remember what happened there, and sometimes they want to tell you their story. So the first thing you need is a place that's got that creepy, forgotten vibe. Think broken windows, overgrown plants, and a sense of time standing still. This isn't just any building. It's got to be an asylum, like the kind you've seen in movies. Okay, hear me out. The Apple AirPods, second generation. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description and hit subscribe for more pics like this. You've got to make sure it's truly abandoned. No lights on, no signs of recent activity, and definitely no people around. It's like a ghost town, but with more haunted vibes. Once inside, the atmosphere changes. The air feels heavier, the silence is louder, and every shadow seems to move on its own. It's like the building is alive, but not in a good way. You'll want to take notes, record audio, and maybe even bring a camera. But remember, this isn't just a documentary. It's a ghost hunt, and you're the one in charge of keeping things safe and respectful. And there you have it, step 1, the setup. It's all about creating the right mood, the right location, and the right mindset. Now, let's move on to step 2, where the real action begins. So the mechanism starts with a simple switch, like a button on the wall. It's not just any switch, it's wired to the whole system, kind of like a master key to a haunted house. Press it, and the show begins. Once you hit that button, it sends a signal through the wires. Think of it like a command sent through the veins of the building, telling the ghosts it's time to perform. The electricity starts to hum with energy. That signal triggers the first part of the mechanism, a hidden door or a trapdoor. It opens with a creak, revealing a dark staircase or a hidden room where the real action starts. It's like the ghosts are getting ready to dance. Then the lights go out. That's when the real magic happens. The darkness makes the whispers louder, the shadows more alive, and the atmosphere thickens like a thick fog. It's all about creating the perfect mood. Finally, the mechanism reaches its climax. Maybe a ghost appears or a door slams shut. It's not just a show, It's a story being told through sound, light, and atmosphere. And that's how the haunting comes to life. Now, here's the real twist. This isn't just a ghost story. The asylum's history is tied to a secret society that used it for experiments. They weren't just treating patients, they were trying to unlock the power of the mind itself. These experiments left behind more than just scars. They created echoes, trapped memories that still linger in the walls. That's why the voices aren't just random. They're fragments of the past trying to be heard. So the real mystery isn't just who's haunting the place, it's why they're still here. And maybe, just maybe, the answer lies in the people who used to live there. That's why the real haunting isn't just about fear, it's about the past refusing to stay buried. And that's what makes this place so interesting. So what's really going on here? Well, these old buildings, like asylums, can hum with energy in ways we don't always see. You see, the walls can trap sounds, creating echoes that feel almost alive. Plus, the materials used in the past, like concrete and wood, absorb or reflect sound differently. It's like the building itself becomes a speaker, playing back your footsteps in a weird, distorted way. Then there's the whole electromagnetic field thing. Some people say these places have strange energy signatures, like they're holding onto the past. But science says it's just the way the building reacts to our presence. And let's not forget about the psychological factor. When you're in a place that feels abandoned, your brain starts to play tricks on you. You hear things that aren't there, or feel like you're being watched. So yeah, the haunting isn't just in the air. It's in the science, the sound, and the way our minds work. It's all part of the same spooky show. So if you think of this place like a really, really old microwave, it's been sitting there for a long time, and sometimes it just starts humming on its own. You know how microwaves can get weird if they're not used for a while? That's kind of what this place is doing. It's not like it's actually cooking anything, though. It's just reacting to the world around it. Like a microwave that's been forgotten, but still somehow connected to the power grid. That's how this place is too. It's not alive, but it's responsive. But here's the kicker. It's not trying to hurt you. It's just doing what it does. Like a microwave that's been programmed to beep at 12:00, even when you're not using it. That's this place. It's not malicious, just persistent. So when we walk through this asylum, we're kind of walking through a microwave that's been left on standby for 100 years. It's not scary, it's just old. And sometimes, old things make weird noises. That's why it's not haunted. It's just doing what it does, like a microwave, just with more ghosts. Now, here's the part that sounds made up, but it's actually real. The laundry room that's actually a secret prison cell. This room was used to hold prisoners who were considered too dangerous for the main cells, and it's still intact after all these years. It's not just the walls that tell the story. The floorboards creak like they are alive, and the air feels heavier in this space. Even the smell is different here. A mix of old wood, damp stone, and something else is something that doesn't belong in a building this old. So when you hear the story about the laundry room, it's not just a spooky tale. It's a piece of history that's still waiting to be uncovered. Myth number 1 is that abandoned asylums are haunted by the ghosts of the patients. But the truth is, most of these places were just abandoned because they were outdated, not because they were haunted. Many asylums were closed due to changes in mental health care, not because of supernatural activity. The real mystery is why they were left to decay instead of being properly decommissioned. The real spooky part is the way these places look: cracked walls, broken windows, and long-forgotten rooms. That's what makes them feel eerie, not any ghostly presence. So next time you hear a story about a haunted asylum, remember, it might not be the ghosts that are the real mystery, but the history and the people who lived there. So the second myth we're busting is that these asylums are haunted by patients who never left. But the truth is, most of these buildings were abandoned because of poor conditions, not supernatural reasons. Many asylums were closed because they were dangerous, unhygienic, and didn't provide proper care. The idea of haunted patients is a mix-up between history and horror fiction. In reality, these places were more like prisons for the mentally ill, and the real ghosts are the stories of people who were mistreated and forgotten. So, if you're visiting an abandoned asylum, remember, there's no need for a ghost hunt. just a little respect for the history and the people who lived there. You might be surprised to find that this same eerie energy lives in places you visit every day. Think about the old buildings near your home or the long, empty hallways of your school. They might not be haunted, but they do share that same unsettling feeling. Even your favorite cafes or libraries can feel like they've been touched by something old. The way the light hits the walls, the silence between the sounds, it's like the building holds its own secret. So next time you're in a place that feels off, don't write it off as just your imagination. There's a reason why some places have that strange, unshakable vibe. It's not just in the past, it's all around us. The haunted isn't just in the past. It's in the places we walk through every day. And sometimes, all it takes is a little curiosity and a lot of courage to find out why. Let me tell you about a real case that went surprisingly well. There's this place called the Willow Creek Asylum, which was abandoned in the 80s. People said it was haunted, but the team who checked it out actually found some real answers. You're going to want to see this. The Stanley Quencher 40 Oz Tumblr, link and QR code are right on screen and down in the description. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. They went there with cameras, sensors, and an open mind. What they found wasn't ghosts, but old medical records and some pretty wild stories from the staff who worked there. No ghosts, but the history was creepy enough. The team left with more questions than answers, and a few stories that made the local legend even more fascinating. So, while it wasn't a haunted house, it was a real-life mystery that turned out to be more interesting than most. Sometimes, the truth is scarier than fiction. Now we're talking about the real deal, the record-breaking, cranked to 11 extreme. This isn't just any ghost story, it's a full-on, supernatural showdown with no holds barred. The atmosphere here is so thick with energy, it's like the walls are vibrating with unspoken terror. Every creak, every whisper, feels like a warning from the past. The energy in this place is so intense, it feels like the ghosts are trying to break free, not just haunt, but conquer. It's like a full-on battle between the living and the dead. Some say this place has the strongest paranormal activity ever recorded. So strong, it's almost like the spirits are testing the limits of reality itself. It's not just about fear anymore. It's about intensity, raw power, and a supernatural force that refuses to be ignored. This is where the real horror begins, where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the supernatural goes full throttle. As the night deepens, the air grows colder, and the silence is broken by a low, guttural moan that seems to come from the walls themselves. The flashlight flickers, casting erratic beams that reveal claw marks on the walls and a single, blood-stained handprint on the floor. The floor suddenly gives way, and the host tumbles into a hidden basement, where the walls are covered in ancient, faded murals of ritualistic scenes. A loud, echoing laugh rings out, followed by the sound of something heavy crashing through the ceiling, sending dust and debris into the air. In the chaos, the flashlight goes out, leaving the host completely in the dark, except for the faint, greenish glow of something moving in the shadows. You think the brochure paints a picture of a spooky, mysterious place. Well, the real story is far less glamorous. These places were built for people in pain, not for fun. Asylums weren't just haunted by ghosts, they were haunted by the suffering of real people. Think about it. No one signs up for a mental health facility thinking they'll be treated like a prisoner. The buildings were built to last, but the people inside weren't. Many of these places became prisons disguised as hospitals, and the trauma they caused is still felt today. So when you hear about the haunting of an asylum, remember, the real horror is the history of human cruelty hidden behind the walls. The ghosts aren't just from the past, they are from the people who lived there. It's not just about the spooky stuff. It's about remembering the real people who were trapped in these places. Their stories are what make these places truly haunting. So, how did people even figure out that these asylums were haunted? Well, it started with stories, like the ones your grandma told you about the ghost in the attic. Then came the real-life experiences. People who said they heard whispers, saw shadows, or felt cold spots in the middle of the night. But it wasn't just about spooky tales. Scientists and researchers started looking at these places, trying to understand what made them feel so strange. They found things like old medical experiments, hidden tunnels, and even the remains of people who had been locked up for years, all of which added to the spooky vibe. And as the stories grew, so did the fear and the curiosity. People started visiting these places on purpose, just to see if the hauntings were real. So here's a genuinely weird edge case. This is the only known case where a ghost was reported to be wearing a swimsuit. It happened at a different abandoned asylum, but the story is just wild enough to make you rethink your whole theory about ghosts. The story goes that a group of paranormal investigators found a ghostly figure in the middle of a pool, fully clothed in a swimsuit, and it didn't seem to be scared of the water at all. It just stood there, like it was waiting for someone. The investigators later claimed the ghost was a former patient who had a secret obsession with the water. Maybe it was trying to escape, or maybe it was just really into swim lessons. This case is so weird that even the experts say it's one of the most confusing ghost stories they've ever heard. It's like the ghost is saying, "I'm not just haunting this place, I'm also a total weirdo." So, if you ever run into a ghost at an asylum, maybe just ask it if it's wearing a swimsuit. You never know, it might be the key to unlocking the mystery. What if we didn't just use the asylum for one spooky moment, but turned it into a whole new kind of haunted experience? Imagine building a theme park out of this place, where the real ghosts are the attractions. You could charge admission, sell tickets to the real haunted rooms, and even make it a popular tourist spot. The ghosts would be the main draw, and the staff would be the hosts. But wait, what if the ghosts didn't just play along? What if they started to take control of the show? This isn't just a haunted house anymore, it's a haunted experience run by the spirits themselves. Now you're not just a visitor, you're part of the haunted story. The asylum becomes a living, breathing horror game, and the ghosts are your guides through the madness. So, what if we didn't just explore the asylum, but turned it into a place where the dead write the rules, and the living become the players? That's the real horror of the what-if scenario. Now, let's compare this haunted asylum to something you might know. Think of it like a spooky version of your local library. Quiet, dusty, and full of secrets, but with a lot more ghosts. The asylum isn't just big, it's like a giant, creepy version of a mall. Imagine if every store had a ghost, and the escalators led to nowhere but the dark. It's like a haunted amusement park, but instead of roller coasters, there are haunted halls and rooms that never end. And if you're thinking, this is just a building, well, it's like a haunted version of your childhood home, but with more screaming and less cookies. So, in the end, this asylum isn't just a building. It's a haunted version of a place you've known, but with a little extra spooky spice. Even now, experts argue over what really happened in that asylum. Some say it was all in the minds of the people who stayed there, while others believe the spirits are real. It's like a mystery novel, every clue leads to a different answer. Some say the voices were just echoes, others think they were real people trying to reach out. Experts from different fields, psychologists, historians, and paranormal investigators, all have their own theories. It's a real debate, so the truth might be a mix of all of it. Maybe it was a combination of psychology, history, and something we can't explain, or maybe it's just a really good story. In the end, the real mystery is why we're still so fascinated by it. Maybe the past is always trying to speak to us, in whispers, echoes, or just plain old stories. Now, here's the clever trick that makes all this possible: the use of sound. By layering subtle noises, we can create an eerie atmosphere that feels alive, like the building is breathing. These sounds are carefully placed to echo through the structure, making it feel like the walls are reacting to our presence, like they are whispering secrets we can't quite hear. This is how the atmosphere becomes more than just spooky. It becomes immersive, making you feel like you're not just looking at the asylum, but inside it. Real quick, if you've been looking for Kindle Paperwhite e-reader, this one's worth a look. Scan the QR code on screen or tap the link below and subscribe for more finds. By using sound in this way, we don't just create an eerie vibe. We create a living, breathing space that feels like it's watching you back. So the trick is simple, but the effect is powerful. Sound is the invisible hand that makes the haunting feel real. A lot of people think ghosts only appear in haunted houses, but the real truth is they are everywhere, just not always visible. The real trick is knowing where to look, not just hoping for a spooky show. Beginners often mistake silence for evidence, but the real signs are in the details. A door that creaks on its own, a shadow that moves when no one's there, or a voice that echoes from an empty room. Many folks try to jump into the paranormal without understanding the basics, like how to document, how to stay safe, or how to not let their emotions cloud their judgment. The biggest mistake is thinking the ghost is trying to communicate with you. In reality, it's more likely the ghost is just existing. And that's pretty weird on its own. So if you're just starting out, take a deep breath, stay curious, and remember, ghosts aren't always scary. Sometimes they're just lonely. Wait, there's something wrong with the timeline. The patient records don't match the dates on the photographs. The same person is in both, but the dates are off by a year. This means the woman in the photo wasn't actually a patient here. She was never admitted. So who is she? And why is she in the picture? This name is familiar. It's the same name as the woman in the photo, but she was never officially admitted. Maybe she was a visitor, or maybe she's not who we think she is. It's not just a mistake, it's a clue. Someone tried to hide her presence here. Maybe she was never a patient. Maybe she was never supposed to be here at all. This tiny detail changes everything. It's not just about the past, it's about what was left behind, and what was never meant to be found. So to really grasp how big this place was, let's think about just one number. That number is 100. That's how many square feet this asylum once covered. Imagine standing in the middle of it, and you can see the entire building stretching out in every direction. It was a massive structure, built for a purpose that now feels almost impossible to believe. That number alone tells us how much space was wasted on fear, control, and the failed promise of curing the mentally ill. It's a number that speaks louder than any ghost ever could. So next time you hear about haunted places, remember, sometimes the real horror isn't the ghosts, but the scale of the madness that once lived there. You might have seen this moment in a movie, or maybe even in a viral video. It's that classic scene where a shadowy figure appears in the hallway, just as the camera pans around the corner. It's a moment that plays on our fears of the unknown, the sudden appearance of something that wasn't there before. It's simple, but it's super effective. It's funny how something so simple can become such a cultural icon. It's like the internet has adopted this moment as its own. So next time you see this moment, remember, it's not just a spooky scene. It's a piece of pop culture that's been around for decades, and it still manages to give us the creeps. Now, here's the question almost nobody thinks to ask. What if the asylum wasn't just abandoned, but hidden asterisk? You see, in the 19th century, some asylums were built in secret, for people who were considered unfit to be in society. So, when we talk about the haunting, maybe we're not just hearing the ghosts of patients, but also the echoes of a secret society. What if the real mystery isn't the ghosts, but the people who built the asylum to begin with? The next time you hear a ghost story, maybe ask, was it ever hidden asterisk? What's coming next in the world of haunted places? Well, imagine a world where you can walk through an abandoned asylum not just with your eyes, but with your senses and even your emotions. New tech is making that possible. VR headsets are now allowing people to explore real-life hauntings from the comfort of their homes. You can feel the cold breeze, hear the whispers, and even experience the tension of being alone in a creepy place. You can even visit virtual versions of real haunted locations, like this very asylum, and experience what it's like to be there without ever leaving your home. The future of haunted exploration is here, and it's more immersive, more personal, and more thrilling than ever before. Who knows what's next? Even after all these years, some things about the asylum just don't make sense. There are whispers of a hidden room, a place that's never been found, but people swear they've seen a door in the walls. Some say it was built for a secret purpose, maybe even a place for experiments no one ever meant to share with the world. Others think it was a cover-up for something far more terrifying. And then there are the sounds. Some people claim they've heard whispers in the dead of night or the faint echo of footsteps in empty halls. But when investigators go to check, there's nothing there. The mystery isn't just about what happened here, but what's still left to discover. Maybe the asylum isn't just haunted, it's holding secrets that could change everything we know about history. Did you know that some asylums were built with secret tunnels? These were used to move patients secretly, or even to escape if things got too bad. One famous asylum in the 1800 had a special room for the lunatics, a term that was actually a polite way to say mad people. Some asylums had their own little farms where patients would work and grow food. It was part of the idea that hard work could help cure madness. Even today, some asylums are used for other purposes, like prisons, museums, or even hotels. They've had a lot of lives. Let's take a quick trip back through the madness. We started in the dark halls of Blackmore Asylum, where the air felt thick with secrets and the walls whispered stories of the past. We met the ghost of Dr. Voss, a mad doctor who once ruled the place with fear, and discovered how he vanished into the night, leaving only his madness behind. We explored the basement, where echoes of screams still linger, and found a hidden room with a diary that hinted at the asylum's darkest secrets. And finally, we uncovered the truth. The asylum was never abandoned, it was never closed. The ghosts are still here, waiting for someone to listen. Did you know that some asylums were actually built with secret tunnels to transport patients? These hidden passages were used to move the mentally ill without being seen. These tunnels were often used in the 1800s, when the stigma around mental illness was still huge. People didn't want to be seen carrying a mad person. So next time you hear about an asylum, remember, there might be more than just ghosts hiding beneath the walls. And who knows, maybe those tunnels are still there, waiting for someone to uncover their secrets. Thanks for sticking with me through this spooky journey. If you enjoyed the tales of the asylum, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Who knows what other ghostly adventures await? Don't forget to comment with your favorite spooky story or your own ghostly encounter. We love hearing from you and making this spooky journey even more fun together. And if you're feeling particularly adventurous, maybe check out some real-life abandoned places nearby. You never know what secrets they might hold. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss another creepy corner of the world. Thanks again for watching, and remember, sometimes the best stories come from the places we dare to explore alone. You're standing in the middle of an old, crumbling building, the air thick with history and mystery. This place was once a hospital for the mentally ill, but now it's just dust and echoes. Real quick, if you've been looking for Fire TV Stick 4K streaming device, this one's worth a look. Scan the QR code on screen or tap the link below and subscribe for more finds. The walls here are more than just stone. They feel like they're holding their breath, waiting for something to wake up. You can almost hear the silence humming with secrets. As you step further in, the air gets colder and the silence becomes heavier. It's not just quiet, it's holding its breath. This place isn't just abandoned, it's haunted by the memories of those who once called it home. And now, it's calling you in. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, an asylum is basically a place where people who are sick or have mental health issues used to be kept. Back in the day, they were called lunatic asylums, and they were kind of like the old-school mental hospitals. But not all asylums were the same. Some were built with a lot of care, and others, well, let's just say they were a bit more intense. Some had cells, some had gardens, and some had more than you'd expect. Now, not every asylum is haunted, but the ones that are, they have a story. A story of suffering, of secrecy, and sometimes of tragedy. And that's what makes them so fascinating. So, in short, we're talking about places that were once full of life, now empty and forgotten, with secrets that still linger in the shadows. You might think this is just a spooky story, but the truth is, these places teach us about human nature. They're not just ruins, they're time capsules of our past. Every abandoned place has a story. Some are tragic, others are bizarre. Studying them gives us a window into history, psychology, and even sociology. And honestly, it's kind of cool to imagine what really happened there. Who lived, who died, and who might still be watching from the shadows. So, even if you don't believe in ghosts, there's still a lot to learn, and a little bit of mystery to enjoy in these places. Let's fast forward to the 19th century, when asylums were the go-to for treating mental illness. These places were supposed to be safe, but in reality, they were often overcrowded and underfunded. Patients were locked in cells, treated with shock therapy, and sometimes even experimented on. It was a dark chapter in medical history that we're only now starting to fully understand. Some asylums were even used for other purposes, like prisons or hospitals, but the stigma and horror of their past always lingered in the air. And so, the stage was set for the haunting we know today. These buildings, filled with suffering and secrets, became the perfect backdrop for the supernatural stories we still tell. So, the core idea is like a spooky story that's really real. We're talking about places that used to be hospitals, but now they are empty and full of secrets. These places are called asylums, and they used to help people who had big problems like sadness or anger. But now they are all alone and kind of scary. But remember, even though they're spooky, they're just old buildings. There's no real ghosts, just cool stories and history waiting to be discovered. So the core idea? It's like a treasure hunt in a haunted house, where every corner has a story and every shadow might be a friend. So the first step in uncovering the secrets of this abandoned asylum is setting the scene. We start by arriving at the site, stepping through the rusted gates, and taking in the eerie silence of the place. The building itself is a silent witness to decades of history. Its windows are shattered, its doors are ajar, and the air feels thick with stories waiting to be told. This is more than just a location. It's a character in its own right, holding its own secrets and guarding the past with quiet intensity. Every detail matters. The way the wind moves through the empty halls, the way the light reflects off the peeling paint, all these elements help set the mood and prepare us for what's to come. So, the setup isn't just about arriving at the location. It's about immersing yourself in the atmosphere, building anticipation, and opening the door to the unknown. So, the next step in this whole process is the mechanism. Think of it like the gears that actually make the haunted house move. These aren't just spooky sounds, they're carefully engineered to give that eerie, supernatural vibe. These mechanisms often use hidden switches, pressure plates, or even electromagnetic fields. They're designed to trigger sounds, lights, or movements when someone walks through a specific area. Some of these mechanisms are even powered by the movement of the people inside. Like when someone walks into a room, it triggers a chain reaction of lights, sounds, and maybe even vibrations. And then there's the sound system, hidden speakers, distorted echoes, and even real-time audio effects. It all adds up to that perfect, unsettling atmosphere. So the mechanism isn't just about making things move. It's about making you feel like something is watching, waiting, and, oh, it's just getting started. Now, here's the clever twist. The real ghost isn't just haunting the walls, it's trying to communicate. The real secret is that the ghost isn't a spirit at all, but a cleverly disguised message from the past. You see, the so-called ghost was actually a prank. A series of hidden symbols and messages left by a former staff member to warn about the dangers of the building. This twist reminds us that sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that make you think, not just about ghosts, but about the people who left their mark behind. So next time you hear a whisper in the dark, maybe it's not a ghost. It's just someone trying to tell you something in their own way. So what's really going on here? The sounds, the lights, the strange vibes, they're not just spooky. They're actually grounded in science. You see, even in silence, the walls of an old building can hum with vibrations. That low, deep rumble you hear isn't a ghost. It's the building itself, vibrating at a frequency that's just below our hearing range. Like a cello playing so low, you feel it in your bones. Sometimes, the way the light hits the walls or the way shadows move can create the illusion of movement. Like a flickering light, casting a shadow that looks like someone's moving. And then, there's the whole idea of the mind playing tricks on itself. When you're in a place that feels isolated, your brain can start to hallucinate or misinterpret real sensations as supernatural. So, next time you hear that hum or see that flicker, remember, sometimes the real mystery is just in the science behind it. So imagine this. If you took a bunch of old, broken toys and stuck them in a giant, empty toy box, and then told them to play hide and seek. That's basically what an abandoned asylum is doing. It's like a giant, creepy toy box with no one to play with. The asylum isn't haunted by ghosts or spirits. It's just sitting there, holding onto all the memories and secrets it once had. like a dusty book that's forgotten its own story. So when you walk into an abandoned asylum, you're not walking into a haunted house. You're walking into a museum of forgotten things, waiting for someone to finally give it a good, long look. And that's why it's so easy to get lost in an asylum. It's like a giant, empty playground with no rules. You can't really tell if it's real or just your imagination running wild. So, in the end, the asylum isn't scary. It's just a place that's forgotten how to be normal. And that's what makes it so interesting. You know how some stories are just too good to be true? Well, this one isn't. The real story behind the Whispering Walls isn't fiction. It's a documented case of a patient who somehow escaped the asylum and returned years later, claiming he was never actually there. This patient, whose name was never officially released, had been institutionalized during the 1950s. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and placed in the same building that would later be abandoned. His case file was sealed for decades, but it was finally unearthed in the 1990s. Okay, hear me out. The Stanley Quencher 40 Oz tumbler. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description and hit subscribe for more pics like this. When he returned, he had no memory of being inside the asylum. He claimed he had been living in a small town, working a regular job, and had no idea that he was once a patient. The doctors were stunned. This wasn't a case of memory loss, it was a case of being forgotten. The case was studied by psychologists for years. They believed that his mind had been so deeply affected by the trauma of the asylum, it had created a kind of psychological gap, a place where his memories were erased, leaving him with no idea he had ever been there. So, even though it sounds like a movie plot, this isn't made up. It's a real story that shows how the mind can protect itself by literally forgetting what it doesn't want to remember. Myth number 1 is that all haunted places are actually haunted. But here's the thing, most of these stories are just old rumors, passed down like campfire tales. No ghosts, just a lot of spooky vibes. Asylums, in particular, have a lot of history. They were once places of hope, where people tried to heal from mental illness. But over time, they became places of fear, and that fear stuck in people's minds. The truth is, most of the time, these places aren't haunted. They're just old, abandoned buildings with a lot of history. And sometimes, the real horror is what happened inside them, not what's lurking in the shadows. So next time you hear a spooky story, take a moment to think, is it real or is it just a story? Sometimes, the best scares are the ones we make up ourselves. So here's the thing about the ghosts in asylums myth. It's not just spooky, it's also a little misleading. The idea that asylums are haunted by the mentally ill is a common one, but it's not exactly true. Most of the time, these ghosts are just people who were patients there long ago, not actual spirits. Many of them were treated in the 1800s and 1900s, but they were real people with real stories, not supernatural beings. That said, there are some real creepy stories from the past, like the use of lobotomies and electroshock therapy. But those are more about the dark history of mental health treatment than actual hauntings. So, while the idea of haunted asylums is fun and spooky, the truth is more fascinating and a little less supernatural. It's all about understanding the past, not just fearing the unknown. You might be surprised to learn that this same eerie energy is hiding in your everyday life, in places you never thought to look. Think about the old buildings you pass by, the creepy storefronts, the forgotten alleys, the places where time seems to stand still. It's not just the places. Sometimes it's the things we use daily that carry echoes of the past. So next time you're walking down a familiar street or stepping into a new space, pause for a moment and let your imagination run. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. Let me tell you about a real case that went surprisingly hard. The case of the abandoned asylum of San Marcos. It's a real place that was once a hub of medical experimentation. In the early 2000s, a group of paranormal investigators went there, hoping to capture some real ghostly activity. But what they found was nothing like they expected. They spent weeks there, but nothing showed up. No voices, no cold spots, no orbs, just the hum of the old building and the sound of their own footsteps. It turned out the story wasn't about ghosts at all. It was about the power of belief and the way stories can take on a life of their own. So, if you're ever looking for a real haunting, Maybe look for a place that's more than just a building. Look for a story that's waiting to be told. Now we're talking about the extreme. This isn't just a creepy old building, it's a record breaker, a crank to 11 experience. You've heard of haunted houses, but this is haunted house meets roller coaster. The temperature drops to freezing, the walls pulse like a heartbeat, and the air smells like burnt matches and old secrets. This place doesn't just haunt, it hyperventilates. Visitors have reported being chased by shadows, feeling hands on their shoulders, and even being locked in rooms with no way out. This place doesn't just scare, it invites you to play. So if you're looking for a haunted house that's more than just spooky, this is the one. It's not just haunted, it's hyper haunted, and it's breaking records left and right. Suddenly the lights flicker and go out. The air gets colder and the silence becomes louder. Something isn't right. A loud crash echoes from the basement. The door swings open on its own, revealing a storm of dust and broken glass. The temperature drops further, and the walls start to bleed a faint, dark red. The air smells like rust and old blood. A low, guttural moan starts from the basement. It grows louder until it feels like the whole building is trying to speak. The lights come back on, but everything is wrong. The walls are gone, and the floor is now a swirling vortex of darkness. You know what's really sad about these places? They're not just creepy, they're also a huge waste of space. These asylums were built for a purpose, but now they're just sitting there, rotting away. Back in the day, they were packed full of people who needed help. Now, the only thing that's full is the trash and the dust that's been collecting for decades. And the cost? These places were built with millions of dollars and years of effort. Now they're just sitting there, forgotten and unused, like a sad, empty promise. So, while you're exploring the spooky parts, remember, this place wasn't just haunted. It was also a victim of its own time. A reminder that even the best intentions can lead to the worst outcomes. So how did people even figure out that this place was haunted? Well, it all started with a few brave souls who decided to take a peek inside this creepy old building. They heard stories passed down through generations, and some even had personal experiences that made them believe something was lurking in the shadows. Then came the researchers and paranormal investigators, who used cameras, microphones, and even EMF detectors to try and capture something real. They found strange sounds, flickering lights, and temperature drops that couldn't be explained by normal causes. Like maybe the building itself was holding on to something. And with all these clues, people started to piece together the truth. This place wasn't just abandoned, it was haunted, and it was waiting for someone to listen. So here's a weird edge case that's actually real. You see, some people have a condition called autotopagnosia. They can't name body parts. It's like their brain just forgets the labels, even when they can move them perfectly. It's not just a silly trick question. It's a neurological condition that can be pretty confusing. Imagine trying to tell someone you're holding a pen, but you can't even describe your fingers. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does this relate to an abandoned asylum? Well, it turns out some of the patients there might have had similar issues. Maybe they couldn't tell their left from their right, or their hands from their feet. It's one of those weird little facts that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew. You start to wonder if the asylum's ghosts are just the echoes of these lost patients, trying to make sense of their own bodies. And that's why I love these kinds of stories. They remind us that even in the most eerie places, there's a whole world of human experience hiding in the shadows. What if we didn't just stumble upon this place, but we intentionally used it for something dark? Think of it like a twisted game of haunted house with real consequences. Little sponsor break, check out the Apple AirPods 2nd generation. There's a QR code on screen and a link below to see it. Now subscribe and let's keep going. Imagine a secret society using this asylum as a training ground for psychological experiments. Not out of fear, but out of curiosity and a little bit of sadism. They could turn it into a psychological battlefield, testing the limits of human sanity, not for science, but for power, control, and maybe even entertainment. It's like a horror-themed amusement park, but instead of roller coasters, you get real trauma and maybe even a few ghostly surprises along the way. So, what if the real horror wasn't the place itself, but the people who made it a weapon? That's the real what if, and it's way creepier than anything you'll find inside. So, when we compare this asylum to something familiar, it's like comparing a medieval castle to a modern skyscraper, both spooky, but built in entirely different eras. This asylum isn't just old, it's like a time capsule of the 19th century, with all its quirks and secrets hidden in its crumbling walls. Think of it like a horror movie that actually happened. No CGI, no special effects, just real people and real fear in a real place. So, in the end, this asylum isn't just a building. It's a time machine, a cautionary tale, and a place where history and horror collide. Even now, experts argue over whether the asylum was haunted or just misunderstood. Some say the sounds were echoes, others say they were real. The truth? No one really knows. Psychologists claim the patients were suffering from mass hysteria, while paranormal investigators say they were experiencing something real. It's like a never-ending debate between science and the supernatural. Theories range from poltergeists to mental illness to even government experiments. But no one can agree on what really happened or if it even happened at all. So, if you're still wondering whether the asylum was haunted, the answer is, it depends who you ask. And honestly, maybe that's the real mystery. So, how did they manage to make this place feel so alive? It all comes down to a clever trick called sound masking. They use special speakers to play soft, ambient sounds, like distant footsteps, whispers, and creaking doors, to blend with the real environment. It's like when you're in a movie theater and you don't notice the sound effects until the screen goes black. It becomes part of the experience. So, the real magic isn't the ghosts. It's the way sound tricks our minds into believing something is there. This trick is what makes the whole thing feel real, and that's how they make an abandoned asylum feel haunted. A lot of people think hauntings are just about spooky sounds and ghostly figures. But the real magic is in the details, like how the wind moves through the cracks or how the dust settles in the corners. They also think you need to shout or scream to get a response. But the real ghosts are often silent, waiting for you to listen, not just with your ears, but with your whole heart. Another common mistake is assuming every shadow is a ghost. Sometimes, it's just a trick of the light or a forgotten piece of art that's still waiting to be discovered. Beginners also try to rush the experience. The best hauntings are slow, deliberate, and full of meaning, like a whispered story that takes time to unfold. And finally, they forget to ask the right questions. The best hauntings aren't about fear, they're about connection, memory, and the stories we leave behind. Did you know that the asylum's original blueprints were never fully recovered? A single missing page could explain the strange, repeating symbols we saw in the hallway. That page was supposed to show the location of the asylum's hidden basement. Without it, the architects made a critical error, one that might have led to the patient's fate. The symbols we saw were actually a map, pointing to a secret escape route. But if the basement never existed, where did those patients go? This tiny detail could change everything we think we know about the asylum. The truth might not be in the walls, but in the pages that were never found. So here's the thing, one number can tell you everything you need to know about how big this place was. It's not just a building, it's a whole world of history, pain, and mystery. Imagine walking through a maze of hallways, each one leading to a different story. Some were filled with screams, others with silence. This place had a soul, and it was huge. When you think about it, 1,000 rooms is like having a whole city in one building. It's not just a place, it's a history book written in stone and silence. So the next time you hear about haunted places, remember, it's not just about the ghosts. It's about the people, the pain, and the number of stories that live in every corner. This moment actually made its way into a viral video a few years back. People were stunned by how real it looked, and it got millions of views. The video was shared all over the internet, and people couldn't stop talking about it. It felt like a real ghost had been captured on screen. It's still one of the most famous moments from that place. People still talk about it, and it's become a part of the asylum's legend. So even though it was just a video, it felt like a real haunting. That's the power of the place. It doesn't just leave ghosts, it leaves memories. You know how we always talk about the ghosts and the screams? But what if the real mystery is why the asylum was built in the first place? Sometimes, the answers are hiding in plain sight. Did you ever wonder why they chose this spot? Was it just a place to put the crazy people, or was there something else going on beneath the soil? What if the asylum wasn't just a place for the mentally ill, but a secret lab for something else entirely? The walls might be hiding more than just ghosts. The question nobody thinks to ask isn't about the spirits, it's about the people who were here before us. Maybe they're still in the walls, waiting to be heard. You know, the future of haunted places isn't just about ghost hunters and cameras anymore. Think VR, AI, and even holograms. Imagine walking through an asylum in a fully immersive digital world, every shadow and whisper brought to life. AI is already helping us analyze audio and video from old recordings, detecting patterns humans might miss. It's like having a smart ghost whispering secrets in your ear. And then there's AR, augmented reality. You can point your phone at an old building, and suddenly the walls come alive with stories of the past, like a ghost story unfolding in real time. The future isn't just about seeing the past, it's about experiencing it in ways we've never imagined. The haunted places of the world are about to get even more real and even more spooky. Some things in this place just don't make sense, like the shadow that moved when no one was looking, or the whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves. People have reported seeing lights flicker in rooms that were long sealed shut, as if something is trying to get out, but no one's ever been able to find the source. Some say the asylum has its own kind of intelligence, like it's learning from the people who visit and adapting to their presence in ways we can't understand. And then there are the things that never get explained, like the cold spots that appear out of nowhere, or the sounds that echo from nowhere at all. Did you know that asylums were once called madhouses? These places were packed with patients, often treated with questionable methods like ice baths and restraint chairs. It's like a 19th century version of a mental health clinic, but with less privacy. Some asylums even had their own prisons. Patients who misbehaved were locked in tiny cells, sometimes for weeks. It's like a prison within a prison, but for people who were supposed to be getting help. Real quick, if you've been looking for Stanley Quencher 40 Oz Tumblr, this one's worth a look. Scan the QR code on screen or tap the link below and subscribe for more finds. In some places, the asylums were run by the military. They used strict routines and physical punishment to treat patients. It's like a combination of a psychiatric ward and a military base, with a lot of confusion. Many asylums were also used as hospitals during wars. Patients were sometimes treated alongside soldiers, and some even died from injuries they sustained during battles. It's a weird mix of war and mental health care. And here's a fun one: some asylums even had their own secret tunnels. These were used for smuggling supplies or moving patients secretly. It's like a spy movie, but in a place where people were supposed to be safe. Let's recap what we've uncovered so far. We've explored the history of this asylum, learned about its dark past, and even caught glimpses of something moving in the shadows. We found old patient records, heard the stories of former staff, and even followed a trail of mysterious symbols that led us deeper into the building. We've seen strange shadows, heard whispers in the wind, and felt a cold chill that lingers long after we've left. Every corner of this place seems to hold a secret. But remember, we're not just here to scare you, we're here to uncover the truth. Stay curious, stay brave, and keep your eyes open for what's still waiting to be discovered. Did you know that some asylums were built with secret tunnels and hidden cells? These places were designed not just to confine patients, but to control them in ways we can barely imagine today. Many of these tunnels were used to move patients secretly, or to transport supplies without being seen. Some even led to places outside the asylum entirely, like gardens or forests. Some tunnels were even used for experiments, where doctors tested new treatments in secret, often without the patient's consent. These places are now just ruins, but the echoes of their dark past still linger. The more you learn about these places, the more you realize that history isn't just in books. It's in the very ground we walk on. All right, that's it for today's spooky journey through the haunted halls of the old asylum. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more wild stories and eerie explorations. If you want more of this kind of content, hit that bell icon and let's keep the spooky vibes going. Who knows what we'll uncover next? Stay curious, stay brave, and remember, Sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that make you laugh. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss another adventure with me. Until next time, stay spooky and stay safe. See you on the other side. Imagine stepping into a place where time forgot to pass. This isn't just an old building, it's a history book waiting to be read, with ghosts as the footnotes. The air here feels heavier, like it's holding onto secrets that refuse to be forgotten. Every creak and whisper tells a story we're only beginning to understand. You might think you're just exploring a building, but you're actually walking through a living museum of fear, confusion, and human suffering. What happened here? Why is this place still whispering? That's the question we're about to answer, one ghost at a time. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, an asylum isn't just a building. It's a place where people went when they were really, really broken. These places were supposed to help, but sometimes they became more like prisons for the mind. Now, these asylums were usually run by doctors and nurses, but not always in the way we'd want. Some were really strict, and some were just really scary. People would go there for things like mental illness, or even just because they were different. But here's the thing, these places were abandoned for a reason. Some were shut down because they were too dangerous, others because the treatments were just wrong. And sometimes, people just disappeared and never came back. Now, when we talk about hauntings, we're not just talking about ghosts. We're talking about the history, the pain, and the secrets that these places hold. Every creak, every whisper, every shadow might be a story waiting to be told. So, what's the deal with these places? It's not just about the spooky stuff. It's about the people who were there, the choices that were made, and the way history can linger in the walls like a memory that won't fade. You think this is just a spooky story? It's actually a window into how we remember the past. Abandoned places like this tell us about the fears, hopes, and mistakes of people long gone. Every crack in the walls and every broken window is a piece of history. These places are like time capsules, holding stories that are waiting to be uncovered. And let's be honest, there's something oddly fascinating about seeing how people used to live, work, and suffer. It's a reminder that we're all connected to the past, even if it's a bit creepy. Plus, when you think about it, these places are like the internet of the 1800s, full of secrets, stories, and things that people didn't know how to explain. So next time you hear about an abandoned building, don't just think spooky. Think history in disguise, and maybe, just maybe, you'll start seeing the world a little differently. Let's fast forward through the years and see how this place became a symbol of fear. In the 1800s, it was a bustling mental hospital, treating patients with the best and worst methods of the time. By the early 1900s, things had gotten really dark. The hospital was overcrowded, understaffed, and the treatments were often brutal. Patients were locked up and left to suffer in silence. In the 1950s, the hospital closed due to new laws that pushed for better mental health care. But instead of being demolished, it was left to rot, its halls echoing with the ghosts of those who once called it home. Fast forward to the 1970s, and the place had become a local legend. Kids would dare each other to go exploring, and rumors spread about strange noises and shadowy figures lurking in the dark. Then, in the 1990s, the asylum was finally torn down, but not before it became the backdrop for a real-life ghost story that made headlines and captured the imagination of the whole world. So the core idea is like a ghost story, but with a twist. You have a spooky place where bad things happened, and now people say the ghosts are still there. Imagine if a hospital was abandoned because it was too scary, and now it's a place where people can't stop talking about strange noises and shadows. It's like when you have a really sad memory, and even though the person is gone, you still feel their sadness in the place they used to be. So the core idea is, some places hold onto the past, and sometimes the past comes back to haunt us, literally. So the first thing you need is a place with a dark past. Think old, creepy buildings, maybe with some weird stories people tell about them. It doesn't have to be an asylum, but that's a classic choice. Now you need to set the mood. That means lighting, sound, and maybe some fake props. Think flickering lights, creaking floorboards, and a soundtrack that makes your spine tingle. But don't forget the rules of the game. You can't just walk in and expect a ghost to show up. You have to build suspense. Maybe start with a creepy intro, then slowly escalate the tension as the story unfolds. And of course, you need a good story. The more details you have about the asylum's history, the more real it feels. Maybe a missing patient, a mysterious death, or a doctor with a secret. So the setup is all about atmosphere, history, and suspense. Once you've got that, you're ready to step into the asylum and let the story take over. So the first step is setting the scene, but step 2 is all about the mechanism. Think of it like the gears in a clock. Everything has to be in place for the ghost to move. Real quick, if you've been looking for Kindle Paperwhite e-reader, this one's worth a look. Scan the QR code on screen or tap the link below and subscribe for more finds. The mechanism is usually hidden beneath the floorboards or behind a wall, like a secret room that only the most curious can find. The mechanism is connected to a series of pulleys and levers that trigger the ghostly effects. It's like a giant puppet show, but with spooky energy. And here's the kicker. This mechanism is always on a timer. It's set to activate during certain hours, so the hauntings only happen when the lights are low and the silence is thick. So the mechanism is the heart of the haunting. It's what makes the ghosts move, the sounds echo, and the lights flicker. It's like the asylum itself is alive, and it's telling a story. Now, here's the clever twist. The real ghost isn't the one you see. It's the one you don't. The most terrifying hauntings are the ones that leave you questioning what's real and what's just in your head. This is why people often feel a chill or get a weird sensation when they are alone. It's not the ghost. It's the brain trying to make sense of something it can't explain. The twist is that the ghost isn't trying to scare you, it's trying to communicate. It's like a message in a bottle, but instead of a message, it's a memory from the past. And here's the best part. The real trick is that the ghost is still here, waiting for someone to listen. That's why we keep coming back to these places, hoping to finally hear its story. So, what's really going on here? Well, the human brain is wired to detect patterns, even in random noise. That's why we hear whispers in the wind or feel a presence when no one's around. And let's not forget the power of suggestion. Once you believe something is there, your mind will find it. It's like a filter that turns uncertainty into clarity. There's also the psychological phenomenon called pareidolia, where the brain tries to make sense of ambiguous stimuli. That's why people see faces in clouds or hear voices in echoes. And then there's the whole idea of memory, how our brains fill in the blanks. We remember what we want to remember and forget the rest. It's like a story we tell ourselves to make sense of the unknown. So, the next time you hear something strange in an old building, maybe it's not the building itself, but your own brain giving you a little ghost tour. So, imagine this. A haunted house is like a really bad alarm system. It goes off for no reason, and you can't figure out why. You're trying to sleep, and suddenly, the lights flicker and the floorboards creak like someone's trying to break in. But here's the twist. The alarm system is actually a bunch of old, broken parts. It's not a ghost, it's just the house trying to tell you something. Like a broken phone that keeps ringing when no one's calling. The real horror isn't the ghost, it's the mystery. You're stuck in the loop, not knowing if it's real or just the house being weird. It's like trying to solve a riddle that never ends. And the best part? You're the only one who can figure it out. No one else believes you. That's the real horror, being trapped in your own head, trying to make sense of a place that doesn't make sense. You know that part where the ghost just appears out of nowhere and starts screaming? Well, that's not just a dramatic flourish. It's based on real accounts from people who have been there. Some say the screams come from the walls themselves, like the building is holding onto its past. Others swear they heard the sound of a door slamming, even though no one was near it. Researchers have even tried to map out the locations of these sounds. It's like the building is trying to tell a story, one that's been locked away for decades. And the best part? Some people say they can hear the echoes of voices, whispering things they can't quite understand. It's like the past isn't really gone at all. So next time you hear that story about a ghost appearing out of nowhere, remember, there might be more to it than just a spooky tale. Let me bust this one right out of the gate. Ghosts don't haunt abandoned asylums. The real reason you hear whispers is because of the echo chambers in the walls. They're built to amplify sound, not to hide spirits. Think about it, those walls are thick, made of stone and concrete. They're built to keep out noise, not to trap souls. It's physics, not paranormal activity, that's doing the talking. You might think you're hearing a ghost, but it's more likely you're hearing the building itself. The walls are like a giant speaker, repeating what you say back to you in a way that feels spooky. So next time you hear something in an old asylum, don't jump to conclusions. It's probably just the building playing tricks on you. But hey, that's still pretty cool in its own way. So, myth number 2 is that the asylum is haunted by ghosts of patients who died there. But here's the truth. Most of those patients were actually buried in the cemetery next door, not trapped in the walls. The real reason people think they're trapped is because of the way the building was constructed. It's not that they're stuck, it's that the walls are so thick, the sound of their footsteps echoes for ages. Plus, the people who died there weren't necessarily patients. Some were staff, some were visitors, and a few were even executed in the building during the 1800, so their stories are real, but not supernatural. So next time you hear a ghost story, ask yourself, was it a patient, or was it just the building trying to scare you? You might be surprised to learn that the echoes of haunted asylums live on in places you visit every day. Think about the old hospitals, the long-abandoned schools, or even the creepy old libraries you've passed by. These places often share the same history, abandonment, neglect, and a history of suffering. They're not just forgotten buildings. They're places where people once lived and died, and sometimes their spirits remain. So next time you walk past an old building, take a moment to imagine what might have happened there. Maybe it's not haunted, but it might have a story worth remembering. Remember, the past is never really gone. It's just waiting to be uncovered, even if it's hiding in plain sight. Let me tell you about a real case that went surprisingly well. In the 1980s, a team of paranormal investigators actually got the okay to explore an old asylum in Pennsylvania. They had all the proper permits and even a local historian on hand. The whole thing felt like a legit paranormal investigation, not some wild urban legend. In the end, they didn't find a full-blown haunting. Just a bunch of old medical equipment, some forgotten stories, and a lot of really dusty paperwork. So, while it wasn't the most exciting ghost hunt, it shows that even real hauntings can turn out to be more like a mystery than a horror story. And that's the real-world lesson. Sometimes, the scariest thing is not a ghost, but a story that just needs to be told. Now, we're talking about the real deal, record-breaking, crank to 11 extreme. This isn't just a spooky vibe. This is a full-on supernatural storm. Imagine the temperature dropping below freezing, the walls vibrating like they are alive, and the air thick with an otherworldly energy that feels like it's trying to crush you. Even the air feels charged, like every breath you take is filled with static, and the walls are vibrating with a low, guttural hum that makes your bones shake. This isn't just haunted. It's overloaded with energy, like the place is screaming so loud, it's tearing the fabric of reality apart. If you've ever felt like you were in a horror movie, this is the real thing, minus the credits, and with way more screaming. The moment the door swings open, the air changes. It's not just cold, it's heavy, like the walls are holding their breath. The flashlight flickers, and for a split second, the shadows seem to move. It's like the building itself is watching us, waiting. Then it happens. The floor gives way beneath us, and we're plunged into darkness. The flashlight dies, and silence falls like a thick blanket. Real quick, if you've been looking for Apple AirPods, second generation, this one's worth a look. Scan the QR code on screen or tap the link below and subscribe for more finds. We're not alone. The walls are closing in, and the air is thick with something ancient and wrong. This place doesn't want us to leave. It's time to turn back, but the door's gone, the way out is gone, and now the asylum has us. You might think this place is just a bunch of crumbling walls and forgotten stories, but there's a real reason it's never on the brochure. The truth is, this place was built for something far more sinister than you'd imagine. Back in the day, this wasn't just a hospital. It was a prison for the mentally ill, a place where patients were treated with little to no care. Some say the staff were more like jailers than healers. The real horror, it wasn't just the treatment, but the experiments. People were locked away for years, some never seeing the light of day again. The buildings were built to trap, not to heal. And if you're wondering why there's no brochure, it's not because it's too scary. It's because the people who were here never left. They're still trapped inside, waiting for someone to finally listen. So how did people even figure out that this place was haunted? Well, it started with the stories. Whispers of strange noises, shadows moving in the dark, and people disappearing without a trace. Then came the investigators, people with cameras, microphones, and a healthy dose of skepticism. They'd set up in the dead of night, ready to catch anything that might slip through the cracks. They started documenting everything: audio clips, video footage, and even interviews with locals who had heard the stories for generations. It all added up to something more than just a spooky building. And then came the experts, psychologists, historians, and even paranormal researchers. They all had their theories, but one thing was clear: this place had a history that couldn't be ignored. So the mystery wasn't just about ghosts. It was about the people who lived and died there and the secrets they left behind. And that's what makes this place so haunting, in the best way. So here's this one weird thing that happened. A guy who used to work there said he saw a ghost in a hallway, but it wasn't even the same one everyone else talks about. It was a different ghost, like a kid, maybe. He said it was really short, like maybe 3 feet tall, and it was just standing there, not moving, like it was waiting for something. No one else ever saw it. Now, some people say the kid was a patient who died in that hallway. Others say it's just part of the asylum's weird energy, like a memory that refuses to fade. Either way, it's one of those strange little stories that makes you wonder, what else is hiding in the walls of this place? What if we didn't just accidentally break something, but we intentionally messed with the rules? Like, what if we built this place to be haunted from the start? Imagine a mad scientist with a plan, not to help people, but to trap souls, make them obey, or even turn the building into a weapon. You could say it's like a haunted video game, but instead of saving the world, you're just playing the game. But here's the real question. If we built the rules to be haunted, do we even know what we're dealing with anymore? So next time you hear a creak, ask yourself, was it the building, or was it ***? So how does this asylum stack up against something we all know? Think of a haunted house, but with more history, more secrets, and more eerie atmosphere. It's like a mix between a Victorian mansion and a mental institution, but with a darker, more tragic backstory. It's not just spooky, it's a place where the past refuses to stay buried. Every shadow, every creak, every whisper feels like a story waiting to be told. So when you think of a haunted house, this asylum is like a full-length horror movie, with more suspense, more mystery, and more than a few surprises. Even today, experts can't agree on what really happened in that asylum. Some say it was a tragic accident, others think it was a cover-up. The truth is buried under layers of conflicting stories and forgotten records. Some believe the patients were victims of unethical experiments, while others argue it was just poor medical care. No one has found solid proof to settle the debate. Even the local historians can't agree on the exact date the asylum was closed. Some say it was 1948, others claim it was 1953. Time has blurred the facts. Some say the building was never actually abandoned, just locked up for years until the government decided to tear it down. Others insist it was always empty, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. So, even after all these years, the story of the asylum isn't just about the past. It's a mystery that still haunts the present. So, how did they manage to make this whole thing feel so real? Well, it all starts with a clever trick that's been used for decades: the use of sound and silence to create atmosphere. By strategically placing microphones and speakers, they can manipulate the echoes and vibrations in the building. It's like turning the walls into an instrument. And don't forget the music. It's not just background noise. It's carefully chosen to match the mood, guiding the audience through the emotional journey. It's all about layering sound, silence, and story to make the audience feel like they're really inside the asylum, not just watching a video. So next time you watch a spooky video like this, remember, it's not just about the ghosts. It's about the clever tricks that make the whole thing feel real. A lot of people think ghost hunting is all about cameras and creepy sounds. But the truth is, it's way more about preparation and patience than just pointing a camera at a wall. You can't just show up with a flashlight and hope for the best. You need to research the history, understand the local folklore, and know what to look for. not just in the supernatural, but in the real world too. Some folks also think you need expensive gear to catch ghosts. But the most powerful tools are your eyes, ears, and mind, plus a good team to back you up. Finally, a lot of people forget that ghost hunting isn't about chasing ghosts. It's about learning from the past and respecting the unknown. The real magic is in the stories, not the spookiness. You know how sometimes a single word in a document can change everything? Well, this tiny detail in the asylum's old records turned out to be the key to understanding the real story behind the haunting. The word resigned wasn't just a name. It was the name of the nurse who had been in charge of the ward where the most disturbing events happened. Her resignation wasn't just a record. It was a clue pointing to a deeper mystery, one that had been hidden for decades. This tiny detail didn't just change the story, it rewrote it. Now we had a new suspect, a new motive, and a whole new way to understand the haunting. So here's the thing, this whole place, this asylum, was built for 200 patients. But today, it's just a shell with maybe a few dozen rooms left standing. That number, 200, is the key to understanding how empty this place really is. Imagine trying to fit 200 people into this space. It's like putting a whole city into a single building. But now, it's just a quiet echo of what once was, with no one left to remember it. When you think about it, 200 people is a lot. It's more than a classroom, more than a bus full of kids. This place was once a home, a hospital, and now just a memory. So next time you walk through these halls, remember, this building was once full of life. Now, it's just a number and a lot of empty space. This moment actually made headlines back in 2018 when a viral video surfaced of a group of friends exploring an old asylum in Pennsylvania. It looked like something out of a horror movie, but it was real. Here's a find worth sharing: the Kindle Paperwhite e-reader. Point your camera at the QR code or use the description link. Subscribe for more where that came from. What they found was a hidden room that had been sealed for decades. The moment they opened the door, the camera caught a strange shadow moving behind the wall. In the end, the truth came out. It was a cleverly made fake. But it still managed to spark a lot of interest in the real history of asylums and their spooky legends. So even if it wasn't real, it sure made a lot of people think, and maybe even scared a few out of their wits. Now, here's the question almost nobody thinks to ask. What if the asylum wasn't haunted by ghosts, but by the people who built it? These buildings were made by real people with real trauma. And sometimes, the real horror is in the history they left behind. So maybe the real question isn't who is haunting this place, but who was forgotten here. History is full of stories that get buried, sometimes by the people who built them, sometimes by the ones who lived there. The real horror of the asylum isn't just in what it held, but in what it left behind, unspoken, unacknowledged, and waiting to be remembered. So what's next for this whole haunted asylum scene? Well, tech is getting wild, and it's changing how we explore places like this. Imagine walking through a real-life haunted house, but with all the tools of the future. VR is already letting people explore these places without leaving their homes. But soon, it'll be even more immersive. You'll feel the cold air, hear the whispers, and maybe even get a chill that's real. And then there's AI. It can now recreate the voices of long-dead patients or even predict what the place might have looked like in its prime. It's like having a ghost whisper in your ear. What's coming next? More interactive, more immersive, and more real. The line between the past and the present is getting thinner, and the stories of these places are only getting louder. So if you're curious about the future of haunted places, stay tuned. Because the next chapter is already being written, and it's full of ghosts, tech, and a little bit of magic. There are still things we can't explain, like the whispers that echo through the empty halls, even when no one's around. It's like the building itself is trying to tell us something. Some say the walls are still alive, holding memories of the patients who once lived there. It's like the building has a heartbeat of its own, just not the kind you can hear with your ears. You can't always trust what you see, especially when the lights flicker and the shadows move. It's like the place is playing tricks, and you're the only one who can see them. The mystery isn't just in the past. It's still here, in the silence, the whispers, and the way the walls feel like they're watching you. Did you know that some asylums were built with secret tunnels? These were used to move patients secretly, often for bad reasons. It's like a real-life escape room, but with more madness. Back in the 19th century, some doctors tried to cure mental illness by making patients drink mercury. It was supposed to help, but it made people sick. Imagine that, poison as a treatment. The word asylum comes from the Latin word for safe haven. But in reality, these places were far from safe. It's a funny twist on a scary word. Some asylums were built on top of ancient burial sites. That's a spooky twist, like the dead were already living beneath the floorboards. The last asylum in the US was closed in 1995. That's less than 30 years ago. So, some of these places are still standing, just waiting to be explored. So far, we've explored the history of this place, uncovered strange symbols, and found some really weird stuff in the basement. Every clue points to something bigger than just a spooky vibe. The voices we heard, the shadowy figures, and even the temperature drops all add up to one thing. This place is still alive in some way, and it's not done with us yet. We've got a lot of unanswered questions, like who was really behind the experiments and why the place feels like it's watching us. But one thing's for sure, this isn't just a story. It's real, and it's only just beginning. Did you know that some asylums were built with secret tunnels to move patients secretly? These were used for both escape and control. These tunnels were often hidden beneath floors or behind walls, and some were even used for transporting supplies during the day. In some cases, these tunnels were part of a larger network connecting multiple buildings, making the asylum even more mysterious. And guess what? Some of these tunnels are still hidden today, just waiting to be discovered. So next time you visit an old building, remember, there might be more than meets the eye. Well, that's it for tonight's spooky tour of the Old St. Agnes Asylum. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. And hey, if you're into haunted history, you're in the right place. Thanks for sticking with me through the creepy corridors and the eerie whispers. I hope you had a good time. No real ghosts, I promise. Just a lot of fun and a little bit of fear. And if you're ever in the area, maybe you'll see the asylum yourself. Just don't get too close. Some things are better left in the stories. Stay curious, stay spooky, and until next time, good night and don't forget to check your doors. See you next time on the edge of the unknown. You know that weird, forgotten highway that just disappears halfway through the mountains? Well, it's not just a road, it's a portal. A real, tangible portal to a place that never made it onto any map. It's called the Phantom Toll Booth of Trans-Allegheny County. Not a toll booth, really, more like a gateway that only opens when you're not looking. It's hidden in plain sight, waiting for the curious. Some say it leads to a secret town where time moves backward. Others claim it's a gateway to the internet. But one thing's for sure, it's the most mysterious and fascinating place in the whole county. So, if you're ever lost on the way to somewhere, just keep an eye out for the toll booth. You never know where it might take you. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, the Phantom Toll Booth isn't just a book, it's a whole world, like a cartoonish playground for your imagination. It's full of weird places, talking things, and characters that don't follow normal rules. It's like a mix between a fairy tale and a detective story. You're thrown into a strange land with no clear map, and you have to figure out how to get back home. It's all about adventure, puzzles, and learning to think differently. It's not just about the story, it's about the ideas. The Phantom Toll Booth is about the power of language, the importance of listening, and how sometimes the best way to get somewhere is to go somewhere else first. So yeah, we're talking about a story that's more than just fun. It's a journey through imagination, language, and the weird, wonderful places your mind can take you. Let's dive in. You might think this is just a quirky local legend, but it's actually a mirror of our own modern struggles. We're all navigating a world full of distractions, deadlines, and unanswered questions. This story isn't just about a toll booth, it's about how we deal with the chaos of everyday life. It's a metaphor for the choices we make when faced with uncertainty. It's also a reminder that sometimes the answers we seek are right in front of us, if we just take a moment to look. So, even if you don't live in Trans-Allegheny County, this story still speaks to you. It's a universal tale about choices, consequences, and the power of curiosity. And that's why you should secretly care. Because this story is more than just a legend, It's a guide to navigating life's toll booths, one question at a time. All right, let's pick up the pace. We're diving into the heart of Trans-Allegheny County's history, where the past is just a few steps away. From the moment you cross the bridge, you're stepping into a timeline that's alive with stories. Real quick, if you've been looking for Apple AirPods, second generation, this one's worth a look. Scan the QR code on screen or tap the link below and subscribe for more finds. This region wasn't always a hub of industry. It started as a frontier, a place where pioneers carved out lives from the wilderness. Think of it like a giant game of settlers, but with more mud and fewer gold nuggets. By the early 1900s, Trans-Allegheny was transforming. Factories, railroads, and a growing population turned it into a real town. It's like watching a game level up, from simple to sophisticated. But history isn't just about progress. It's also about the people who shaped it, the farmers, the laborers, the dreamers. Every brick and road has a story, and we're racing through them all. So here's the takeaway. History isn't just something you read in a book. It's all around you, waiting to be discovered. And if you're lucky, you might even find a ghost or two along the way. So imagine a place where every road leads to something fun, and every bridge connects to a new adventure. It's like a giant playground made of stories, and you can hop from one to another just by stepping on the right path. This place isn't just about traveling, it's about learning. Every time you go somewhere new, you pick up a little bit of wisdom, like a puzzle piece that helps you understand the world better. And the best part? You don't have to be a grown-up to play. Just bring your curiosity, your imagination, and your sense of wonder. That's all you need to start exploring. So the core idea is this. Life is like a big, colorful game where every step you take can lead you to a new story, a new lesson, and a new way of looking at the world. So you're about to take the Phantom Toll Booth, but first, you need to know how it all starts. It begins with a little red toll booth that appears out of nowhere, right in the middle of Trans-Allegheny County. This isn't just any toll booth. It's got a sign that says Phantom Toll Booth in big, fancy letters. And if you look closely, there's a tiny, glowing phantom peeking out from behind the booth. But here's the catch. The phantom won't let anyone pass unless they're brave enough to say the secret phrase. And that phrase? Well, that's something you'll have to discover on your journey. So, before you even step through the toll booth, you have to be ready. Because once you go through, there's no turning back. The road ahead is full of adventure, mystery, and maybe even a little bit of danger. But don't worry, the toll booth is always there, waiting for the next brave soul. It's like a magical invitation to a world that's just waiting to be explored. So, once the toll booth is activated, the machine starts spinning like a giant, cartoonish gear. It whirs and hums, sending a pulse through the ground that's felt by everyone nearby. This pulse travels through the earth like a wave, reaching the heart of the toll booth's core. That's where the real magic happens, where the power is drawn from the land itself. The core then channels that energy into the toll booth's machine, which acts like a giant switch. It connects the portal to the world beyond the toll booth, opening the door to new adventures. As the portal opens, it creates a shimmering, colorful vortex that's both beautiful and magical. It's like a rainbow tornado made of light and sound. And that's it, step 2. The toll booth is now ready to transport anyone who dares to step through. But remember, it's not just a machine, it's a gateway to wonder. Now, here's the clever twist. This isn't just a toll booth, it's a riddle wrapped in a toll booth. Every time you pass through, it asks a question, and you have to answer it correctly to move forward. If you answer wrong, you get stuck in a loop, stuck repeating the same question over and over. But if you answer right, the toll booth opens up, and you're one step closer to the end of the journey. The twist is that you can't just guess. It's all about logic and thinking outside the box. Sometimes the answer is right in front of you, but you have to see it differently. This twist is what makes the Phantom Toll Booth not just a passage, but a test of wit. It's the final challenge before you reach the end, and it's designed to be both fun and frustrating. So what's really happening here? Beneath all the whimsy and wonder, there's a whole world of science humming away. Think of it like a symphony of energy and motion, all wrapped up in a little toll booth. That toll booth isn't just a magical portal. It's a gateway powered by real physics. It's like a tiny, enchanted generator, pulling energy from the world around it and channeling it through a loop of possibility. Every time someone uses the toll booth, they're not just traveling, they're contributing to a network of energy exchange. It's like a battery, but instead of storing electricity, it's storing potential for adventure. And here's the kicker: that energy doesn't just vanish. It flows through the world, feeding into other magical places like the whimsy woods or the doldrums. It's a whole ecosystem of imagination, powered by science. So the next time you hear a toll booth hum, remember, it's not just magic. It's a carefully designed system, humming with the science of possibility. And that's the real reason it works. So here's the thing about this whole phantom toll booth thing. It's like trying to read a children's book in a language you've never heard before. But somehow you're still getting the jokes. You think you're getting the plot. But then you realize the characters are just really good at pretending to be real, and you're the one pretending to care. And if you're still trying to figure out what it all means, you're just like me, still stuck in the middle of the story, waiting for the punchline that never comes. So yeah, the phantom toll booth is a gloriously dumb, but accurate analogy for how we all feel when we're trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense at all. And honestly, it's kind of beautiful in its own weird way. Like a kid's drawing of a spaceship, but with more existential dread. So here we are, standing in the middle of a place that feels like it's been plucked from a dream. Everything around us is just a little too perfect, like it was made by a child with a crayon and a lot of imagination. But don't let the whimsy fool you, this is real. This place, called the Phantom Toll Booth of Trans-Allegheny County, is a hidden gem that's been operating under the radar for decades. It's like a magical key hidden in plain sight. The toll booth is a symbol of something much deeper: our connection to place, memory, and the idea that the world around us is full of wonder waiting to be discovered. So next time you drive through Trans-Allegheny County, keep your eyes open. You never know what kind of secret you might unlock, or what kind of adventure you might find waiting for you. Myth number 1 is that the phantom toll booth is just a toll booth. But that's not true at all. It's way more than that. It's a gateway to a whole new world, full of adventures and mysteries. You see, the toll booth isn't just a way to pay for a trip. It's like a portal, a magical doorway that opens up to places you've never even imagined. It's a key to a secret world hidden in plain sight. So, if you ever find yourself in Trans-Allegheny County and see a toll booth that looks too perfect, don't just walk by. Stop, take a look, and maybe, just maybe, it's the start of something amazing. And remember, the phantom toll booth isn't just a legend. It's real, it's magical, and it's waiting for you to discover it. So keep exploring, keep wondering, and maybe you'll find it. So myth number 2 says that the phantom toll booth actually exists in real life. But here's the thing, it's just a fictional device. No one has ever built a real phantom toll booth, and no one ever will. It's a symbol, a metaphor, not a machine. The phantom toll booth is a clever way to talk about time, responsibility, and the consequences of our choices. It's not something you can drive through. It's something you can live through. Okay, hear me out. The Kindle Paperwhite e-reader. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description and hit subscribe for more pics like this. So, if you're looking for a real phantom toll booth, you'll probably need to look in a book. That's where it was first created, and that's where it stays. But hey, if you ever do see a real phantom toll booth, make sure to take the right path. You never know where it might lead. So, to wrap up myth number 2, the phantom toll booth isn't real. It's just a great story, and that's totally fine. Stories are what make life interesting. You might not realize it, but the phantom toll booth is hiding in your everyday routines. Every time you skip a task or procrastinate, you're paying a toll in time and focus. It's like the toll booth is right here in your daily grind. Even in your morning commute, it's there, when you get distracted by a notification or daydream about something else. The phantom toll booth is a sneaky little thing, always waiting for you to take the wrong path. When you choose to multitask instead of focusing on one thing, you're letting the phantom toll booth take its toll. It's like you're paying for the privilege of not being fully present. Even in your relationships, it might be hiding, when you're not fully present or when you ignore someone's needs. The phantom toll booth thrives on distraction and half-hearted effort. So the next time you feel like something is off, ask yourself, Am I paying a toll without realizing it? The phantom toll booth is everywhere, and the key to stopping it is awareness and action. So here's the thing. Real-life problems often look harder than they actually are. Just like the phantom toll booth, we sometimes overthink the journey, forgetting that the solution might be simpler than we think. Take, for example, a local road closure in Trans-Allegheny County. At first glance, it seems like a huge disruption, but in reality, it was just a single lane closed for maintenance, a fixable, not a fatal problem. This is where the phantom toll booth meets the real world, in the power of clarity. Sometimes, the answer isn't in the toll booth at all. It's in the simple act of knowing where to look. So next time you're stuck in a problem, remember, the solution might not be hidden in the toll booth. It might just be waiting for you to see it clearly. All right, folks, let's talk about the real deal. Something that's not just big, but insanely big. We're talking about the record-breaking, Crank to 11 Extreme, and it's not just a number. It's a full-blown event. This isn't your average competition. It's a spectacle, a celebration of human, and maybe even machine, ambition. People come from all over to witness the impossible made possible. And let me tell you, the energy here is off the charts. It's not just about breaking records. It's about breaking expectations, pushing limits, and proving that sometimes you have to go all in to make history. So what's the takeaway? It's not just about the numbers. It's about the spirit, the passion, and the pure, unapologetic love of doing something that's simply too much. That's the Crank to 11 Extreme, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and the world gets a little brighter because of it. Things take a turn for the worse when the toll booth starts acting on its own, slamming shut and trapping us inside. The once peaceful road is now a chaotic mess of bouncing cars and confused drivers. The toll booth's magic is gone, and now it's just a regular booth with a frustrated attendant who can't seem to figure out how to fix the mess. The whole town is in a panic. We try to find a way out, but every path leads back to the same problem. The toll booth's power has vanished, and the road is no longer a path to adventure. It's just a trap. Just when we think we're doomed, a strange light flickers from the toll booth. Maybe there's still a way out, but we'll have to figure it out before the chaos consumes us completely. You know what's weird? Nobody ever talks about the things that actually happen here. The real stories, the messy ones, the ones that don't fit on a brochure. They're buried under the pretty pictures and the welcome to Trans-Allegheny County vibe. The brochure shows a park with a lake and a trail, but it doesn't mention the time the bridge collapsed during a storm, or the fact that the lake is now a construction site. It's like they're telling half the story. And don't get me started on the quiet part. It's not quiet. It's just loud in a different way. Like, the kind of loud that happens when a bunch of people are trying to be quiet at the same time. So yeah, the brochure is nice, but it's only part of the story. The real Trans-Allegheny County, that's a different kind of place. One that's full of secrets, surprises, and a whole lot of truth that's not in the guidebook. So, how did humans even figure out that the phantom toll booth was real? Well, it started with a bunch of curious folks who noticed strange patterns in the roads of Trans-Allegheny County. They started mapping the roads and noticed that some roads never led anywhere, while others disappeared into thin air. It was like a game of hide and seek with the map itself. Over time, they began to collect stories and rumors from locals, piecing together a narrative that felt too real to be a myth. It was like solving a mystery with a lot of clues and a little luck. Eventually, a few brave souls decided to take the toll booth for a spin, not knowing if it would lead them anywhere, or if they'd end up in the middle of a dream. And so, the legend of the phantom toll booth became more than just a story. It became a real part of the county's culture, a symbol of adventure and curiosity. So here's the thing about this edge case. It's not just weird, it's weird in a way that makes your brain do a little dance. It's like finding a hidden room in a house you thought you knew. You see, in Trans-Allegheny County, there's a road called Route 217 that doesn't actually exist. It's like a digital glitch in the map, but it's real enough to confuse GPS and locals alike. And here's the kicker. Some folks swear they've seen it, others say it's just a trick of the light. But if you're ever in the area and feel like you've been pulled into a surreal dream, you might just be on Route 217. So, if you're ever driving through Trans-Allegheny County and get a sudden urge to take a detour, just remember, sometimes the weirdest places are the ones that lead you somewhere unexpected. What if we used this system on purpose, not just accidentally? Imagine if someone decided to mess with the rules, to break the rules, not to break the world, but to see what happens when we break the system. You could start by testing the limits, pushing the system until it cracks. Maybe you add more than you should, or take away more than you can afford. It's like playing with a toy that's supposed to be safe, but you're trying to see how far you can push it. This is where the real fun starts, because now you're not just following the system, you're creating your own. You're building new paths, new possibilities, and maybe even new realities, all by breaking the old ones. So, what if we didn't just use the system, but abused it on purpose? What if we turned the rules into a game, and the game was to see how far we could go before the world changed? That's the real experiment. So, let's compare this place to something you might recognize. Imagine if your favorite video game world was suddenly replaced by a giant, colorful toll booth that controls the flow of everything. This toll booth isn't just a gate. It's like a magical checkpoint that decides who gets through and who gets left behind, all while making the journey feel like an adventure. It's like the difference between a regular road and a video game level. This toll booth adds mystery, challenge, and a sense of wonder to every trip through Trans-Allegheny County. So, in short, it's not just a toll booth. It's a portal to a world where every journey is an adventure, and every traveler is a hero. Okay, hear me out. The Amazon Echo Dot 5th Gen Smart Speaker. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description and hit subscribe for more pics like this. You know, even today, experts are still arguing over the phantom toll booth's exact location. Some say it's in the old county courthouse, others claim it's hidden in the woods behind the diner. It's like a never-ending debate. One person's evidence is another person's conspiracy theory. You can almost hear the echo of the toll booth's bell in their arguments. You can find experts arguing over the toll booth in libraries, coffee shops, and even at the county fair. It's like a never-ending game of hot potato with a mystery. But here's the thing, no one's really sure where it is, which is probably why it's still a legend. And maybe that's the point. So, if you're ever in Trans-Allegheny County, keep your eyes open. You never know, the toll booth might just appear when you least expect it. So you're probably wondering how this whole thing even works. Well, it's all about clever redirection. The toll booth doesn't just open a door, it's like a magic mirror that reflects your journey into a new dimension. Imagine you're walking through a normal toll booth, but instead of a road, you're stepping into a story. The trick is that the toll booth isn't just a gate, it's a gateway to a different kind of travel. This trick relies on a simple but profound idea. Sometimes, the path you take isn't about where you're going, but about how you're moving. The toll booth makes the journey itself the destination. So the next time you're stuck, remember, sometimes the trick isn't in finding the right road, it's in knowing how to take the wrong one. That's how the toll booth makes it all possible. A lot of people think the phantom toll booth is just a fancy name for a toll booth. But it's actually a magical key that unlocks the secrets of Trans-Allegheny County. It's not about paying fees, it's about unlocking hidden paths and understanding the true nature of the land. Another common mistake is assuming the phantom toll booth is only for travelers. In reality, it's for everyone who wants to explore, connect, and understand their place in the world. It's a guide, not a gate. Many beginners think the toll booth is a one-time use item, but it's actually a living, breathing guide that evolves with you. The more you learn, the more it reveals to you. Some people think the phantom toll booth is only for adventurers, but it's also for everyday people who want to slow down, listen, and truly see their community. It's not about speed, it's about connection. Finally, the biggest mistake is thinking the toll booth is just a destination. It's a journey, a mindset, a way of being. The real magic isn't in the toll booth, it's in the path you take after you pass through. You know how sometimes a tiny detail can shift the whole story? Like when you're following a map and you realize the north on it is actually pointing to the south. That's exactly what happened here. A single word, a single direction, changed everything. It started with a letter, a small, almost invisible note tucked inside an old book. The words were there, but they weren't what they seemed. It was like finding a hidden door in a wall, but the door was written in invisible ink. The more you looked, the more you realized this detail wasn't just a mistake, it was a clue. A clue that led to a path no one had taken before, and it turned out to be the only way forward. So here's the lesson: never underestimate a small detail. Sometimes, the biggest change comes from the tiniest shift in perspective, like a word, a direction, or even a single letter. And that's why this tiny detail changed everything. It wasn't just a mistake, it was a turning point, a hidden key, and a reminder that even the smallest thing can lead you to the biggest discovery. Let me give you a number that will make everything click. It's not just a number, it's a story in itself. Imagine a world where one tiny fact holds the whole universe together. This number isn't just about scale, it's about perspective. Think of it like a magnifying glass over the entire universe. It zooms in so much that everything else fades away. This number doesn't just explain the size of the universe, it explains the space between everything. It's the distance between stars, the gaps between galaxies, and the voids between everything. And here's the kicker: this number isn't just a measurement. It's a reminder that the universe is so big and we're so small that it's almost poetic. It's a story we can't see, but we can feel. You know what's wild? This thing showed up in the middle of a local farmer's market, right in the heart of Trans-Allegheny County. People were just going about their day, buying fresh apples and chatting with neighbors, when bam, it appeared out of nowhere. It wasn't just any object. It was a glowing, floating version of the phantom toll booth, with a sign that read, "Enter if you dare," and a toll booth made of golden leaves and sparkles. It looked like something out of a dream. The local news picked it up the next day, and it became a viral moment. People started calling it the Phantom Toll Booth of Trans-Allegheny County, a nickname that stuck like glue. It was a moment that brought the community together in a way that only a little bit of magic can. And the best part? It didn't just vanish. It stayed for a few days, hovering over the market, inviting people to explore its wonders. Some even said they heard a faint tolling sound in the distance, like the phantom toll booth was still calling out to adventure. So there you have it, a real-life moment where fantasy and reality collided. And if you ever find yourself in Trans-Allegheny County, keep your eyes open. You never know when the phantom toll booth might decide to stop by again. You know how sometimes the answer is right in front of you, but you're too busy looking for the next clue? That's the question almost nobody thinks to ask. It's the one that sits quietly in the corner, waiting for someone to say, "Wait, why are we even here?" The question isn't about the toll booth or the road. It's about the journey itself. Why are we moving forward? Why are we chasing the next adventure instead of stopping to ask, what does this mean? This is the question that almost nobody asks, but it's the one that could change everything. It's the quiet voice in your head that says, maybe we're not supposed to find the end. Maybe we're supposed to find the way we got here. So the next time you're chasing a clue, take a moment. Ask the question that nobody thinks to ask. You might just find something you didn't know you were looking for. You know what's really exciting? The future of transportation is already here, and it's not just about faster cars. It's about smarter, greener, and more connected ways to get around. Imagine roads that adapt in real time to traffic, weather, and even your commute. That's what smart infrastructure looks like a living, breathing highway that thinks for you. And let's not forget about the people. Future transport is all about making it easier, safer, and more inclusive for everyone, whether you're riding a bike, walking, or flying. So, while the phantom toll booth may be a story, the real magic is happening right now. The future is coming, and it's going to be pretty cool. You know, some things just don't make sense. Like, why do we still have these old toll booths on the road? They're like ghosts of the past, standing there like they're waiting for someone to notice them. It's like the road has its own secret club, and these booths are the only members who remember the rules. But no one's around to ask them why they're still there. And then there are the people who drive by like they're in a hurry. They don't stop, they don't question, they just keep going. Maybe they are all in on the mystery. So here's the deal, some mysteries are just there to make you think. Maybe that toll booth isn't really a toll booth at all. Maybe it's just a signpost for something bigger. Who knows? In the end, it's all about the journey. And sometimes, the best part of the road is the stuff you can't explain, like this toll booth, and the story it's still telling. Okay, hear me out. The Kindle Paperwhite e-reader. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description and hit subscribe for more pics like this. Did you know that the name Trans-Allegheny actually means beyond the mountains? It's a cool way to remember that this county is right between the Blue Ridge and Appalachian Mountains. This county has a rich history of coal mining, and you can still see some old mine shafts and railroads that helped build the region. Oh, and if you ever visit, don't miss the Trans-Allegheny Cultural Heritage Center. It's like a museum of local stories and traditions. Did you know that the county also has its own unique dialect? It's a mix of Appalachian and Southern English with some interesting twists. So next time you think about West Virginia, remember that Trans-Allegheny is a place full of history, beauty, and a little bit of magic. Let's take a quick spin through the most important parts of our journey so far. We've traveled through the kingdom of entropy, met the wazoo, and faced the challenges of the throat of the whale. Every step has brought us closer to understanding the true heart of the phantom toll booth. We learned that the phantom toll booth is more than just a machine. It's a symbol of the choices we make in life. Every toll we pay is a decision, and every road we take leads us somewhere new. We also discovered that the throat of the whale isn't just a place. It's a metaphor for the weight of responsibility and the importance of communication. It's a lesson in how words can shape our world. And don't forget the king of the kingdom of entropy. His chaos taught us that even in disorder, there's a rhythm, a pattern, and a way forward if you know where to look. So, as we move forward, remember, every choice, every word, and every step we take is shaping the story of our journey. Let's keep moving forward, one toll booth at a time. Did you know that the Trans-Allegheny County Tollway has a secret tunnel that's only accessible during a lunar eclipse? It's like a hidden portal for the most curious drivers. The tunnel is lined with blinking lights that only activate when the moon is at its darkest, creating a surreal, almost magical drive through the dark. And here's the kicker. The tunnel is named after a long-lost inventor who once dreamed of connecting the world through transportation, not just roads. So next time you're on the Trans-Allegheny Tollway, keep an eye out for the moon, and maybe the occasional ghostly driver. Well, that's it for today's journey through the phantom toll booth of Trans-Allegheny County. Thanks for sticking with me through all the twists and turns, literally and metaphorically. Remember, the best way to explore is to stay curious, ask questions, and never stop looking for the next adventure. Whether it's in a book, a town, or your own backyard. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to share the magic with your friends. Let's keep the adventure alive. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, every journey starts with a single step, and every story has a beginning. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to turn the page. We'll see you on the other side of the toll booth. Imagine standing in a place where silence screams louder than words. This isn't just an old building, it's a time capsule of horror, built with a dark purpose. The air here feels heavy, like it's holding its breath. You can almost hear the echoes of the past, whispers, laughter, maybe even a scream that never left. There's something about the way the light hits these walls. It feels like the building is alive, watching you, waiting for you to step inside. This place isn't just abandoned, it's haunted by the stories it was built to contain. And now, it's telling them to you. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, an asylum is basically a place where people who are mentally ill used to be kept, often in really bad conditions. But not just any asylum, we're talking about an abandoned one that's been left to decay and forgotten by time. The idea is that these spaces hold onto memories, and sometimes those memories can feel like they're still alive, even if the people are gone. So when we talk about the haunting of an abandoned asylum, we're really talking about the echoes of the past. And what happens when the past refuses to stay buried? You might think this is just a spooky story, but the truth is, we all secretly want to know what's out there, even if we don't admit it. It's human nature to wonder about the unknown. We're wired to explore, to ask questions, and to seek answers, even when those answers are scary. Every story we tell, whether it's about a haunted asylum or a missing person, is a way of making sense of the world and our own place in it. So, even if you don't believe in ghosts, you should still care, because this isn't just about the past. It's about what we choose to remember and what we choose to forget. And that's why you should secretly care. Because the stories we tell shape how we see the world, and the world is always watching. Let's fast forward to the 19th century. This asylum was built in 1842, during a time when mental health was still a big mystery. It was meant to be a place of healing, not punishment. Inside, patients were treated with a mix of hope and fear. They used things like cold baths, restraint chairs, and even electroshock therapy. Back then, it was called animal magnetism. By the early 1900s, the asylum had outgrown its purpose. It was officially closed in 1912, but not before a few more patients were locked away, never to be seen again. And that's where the story gets spooky. After it was abandoned, people started reporting strange noises, cold spots, and shadowy figures wandering the halls. So, while the asylum was once a place of hope, it eventually became a place of fear. And now, it's a legend that haunts the night. So, the core idea is this. An abandoned asylum is like a spooky, empty house where people used to get help. But now it's all quiet and full of secrets. It's not haunted by ghosts, but it feels like something strange is watching you when you walk inside, even if you're alone. People who go there sometimes hear whispers or feel cold spots. But it's all just their imagination or the way the building makes them feel uneasy. The real magic is the way the building itself feels like it has a memory, like it's holding on to the stories of the people who used to live there. So the core idea is, an abandoned asylum is a place where the past is still around, and it's up to you to figure out if it's real or just in your head. So the first step in making a haunting is setting the scene. We start with a location that feels untouched by time. A place where the walls still whisper secrets and the silence is thick with history. Next, we need to make sure the space feels real. That means adding elements like overgrown vegetation, broken furniture, and faded posters. It's all about making the viewer feel like they're walking through a forgotten world. Lighting is key. We use dim, warm tones and shadows to create a mood. Think of it like a stage set. The right lighting can make the space feel haunted without needing any special effects. Finally, we add a few visual elements that make the space feel abandoned, like dust on the floor, empty beds, and maybe even a lone, dusty coat hanging on a hook. It all adds to the eerie atmosphere. And that's it for the setup. It all comes together to create a space that feels like it's waiting for something or someone to wake it up. So how does this whole thing actually work? Well, the mechanism starts with a simple idea. Something gets moved and something else gets triggered. Imagine a rope connected to a hidden door and a weight on the other end. When someone pulls the rope, the weight drops and the door swings open. These gears and switches are connected to the walls and ceiling, creating a whole network of motion that mimics real-life movement. Here's a find worth sharing: the Fire TV Stick 4K streaming device. Point your camera at the QR code or use the description link. Subscribe for more where that came from. The whole thing is designed to feel like the asylum is alive, with subtle movements and sounds that make you question what's real and what's fake. So the mechanism isn't just about opening doors. It's about creating an immersive, believable experience that feels like the spirit is still inside. Now, here's the clever twist that turns this whole thing into a real mystery. The ghost doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's actually the result of a hidden message encoded in the building itself. The message was left by someone who had a deep connection to the asylum, maybe a patient or a staff member. It was hidden in the walls, under the floorboards, or even in the architecture itself. The twist is that the haunting isn't real in the way we think. It's a message, a warning, or a clue, something left behind by the people who lived there. So, the real horror isn't the ghost, it's the mystery. And the real challenge is figuring out what it all means before it's too late. You know that eerie hum you hear in the old buildings? It's not just your imagination. It's actually the sound of metal and concrete vibrating at their natural frequencies, like a giant, silent tuning fork. These vibrations can create low-frequency sounds that humans can't always hear, but our bodies can feel. It's like the building itself is breathing, echoing the past through its very bones. Sometimes, when the wind shifts or the temperature drops, these frequencies change, creating a haunting resonance that feels like the building is alive. So, when you hear that eerie hum, it's not just a ghost. It's physics, vibration, and the building's own memory trying to speak through the walls. So, imagine this. You're a kid on a school field trip, and the teacher says, "Don't touch anything, just look around." You're wide-eyed, curious, and maybe a little scared, but you're also really excited to see what's inside. Now, picture that same kid walking into an abandoned asylum. The lights are off, the windows are dusty, and the air feels thick, like it's holding its breath. This is the power of suggestion, and it's what makes places like asylums so fascinating. They're not haunted, but they're perfect for a good story. So, while we're not literally being haunted, we're being told a story. And that's what makes the asylum so compelling in the first place. It's all in the mind, but that doesn't make it any less real, at least, not in the way we want it to be. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could this be real? It sounds like something out of a horror movie. But trust me, this part is 100% true, and it's one of the most unsettling things that ever happened there. It all started with the patients. They weren't just scared, they were terrified of something that wasn't there. A shadow, a whisper, a cold spot that followed them no matter where they went. When she turned around, there was no one there. But the real kicker, the man in the mirror was her own brother, who had died years earlier in the same asylum. This isn't just a ghost story. This is a documented case of a patient experiencing a hallucination so vivid, it felt real. And yet, the fear it caused was real too. So next time you hear a story about ghosts, remember this one. Sometimes the truth is scarier than any fiction, and sometimes it's just a mirror telling you something you already knew. Myth number 1 is that all haunted places are actually haunted. But the truth is, most hauntings are just stories people tell to explain the unknown. The real reason people hear voices or feel cold spots is often environmental factors, like drafts, echoes, or even the way light hits a wall. So, while the asylum may have a spooky vibe, it's more likely the result of atmosphere than actual spirits. But hey, that doesn't mean it's not fun to explore. Next time you hear a creak or see a shadow, take a moment to think. Sometimes, the real mystery is in the story we make up. So here's the thing, ghosts aren't just a bunch of spooky stories. They're actually a whole bunch of misunderstood myths. And the idea that an abandoned asylum is haunted, well, it's definitely not a ghost, it's a myth. You see, the whole asylum haunted by the insane thing is more about the people who were there than any actual supernatural activity. It's like saying the prison is haunted because the inmates were dangerous. Most of the time, these stories are just people sharing their fears and experiences in a way that feels dramatic. It's not that the place is haunted, it's that it's a powerful symbol of our past. So, if you're ever in an old asylum, just remember, there's no ghost, but there's definitely a history. And that's way more interesting than any haunted tale. You might be surprised to learn that the same eerie energy you feel in an old asylum can show up in your everyday life. Like in that old house you passed on the way to work. Think about the places you visit daily: supermarkets, libraries, even schools. They all have a history, and sometimes that history lingers in the air. That's why it's not just about the buildings. It's about the people who used to live, work, or play there. Their presence might still be felt in the spaces they once occupied. So the next time you feel that strange chill or sense of being watched, ask yourself, is it just the environment, or is something more lingering in the air? Remember, the past isn't always gone. It just waits for the right moment to show up, whether it's in an asylum, a house, or the place you call home. Let me tell you about a real case that actually went surprisingly well. There's a place called the Willow Creek Asylum, and it's not just a story, it's real. The team who investigated it was a mix of skeptics and believers. They had cameras, microphones, and a healthy dose of curiosity. They uncovered patient journals, old medical records, and even a few photos of the asylum in its prime. It was like stepping into a history book. So the haunting didn't come in the form of spirits, it came in the form of stories. And that's why it was so fascinating. Sometimes the real mystery is more amazing than the supernatural. It shows that even in places with a dark past, there's always a story waiting to be told. And sometimes, the best stories are the ones that don't involve ghosts. So, what makes this asylum different from the others? Well, it's not just the creepy vibes, it's the record-breaking, crank to 11 extreme. This place is the most extreme haunted location in the entire country. It's not just about the ghost stories or the spooky atmosphere. This asylum has a reputation for being so intense. It's been featured in every major horror documentary and podcast. People say the energy here is so strong. It can push even the most seasoned paranormal investigators to the edge of their sanity. It's like the walls are alive, breathing, and waiting for you to make a mistake. And the rumors, they don't stop at the walls. Some say the asylum is haunted by a whole crew of spirits, doctors, patients, and even the janitor, all trapped in an endless loop of their worst memories. But the real kicker, this place is so extreme, it's not just about the ghosts, it's about the experience. You feel it in your bones, in your head, and sometimes in your dreams. So yeah, if you're looking for a haunted location that's not just spooky, but actually extreme, this asylum is the one to visit. Just don't forget to bring your courage. Suddenly, the lights flicker and go out, plunging the room into darkness. I fumble for my phone light, and what I find is a torn page from the journal, stained with something that looks like blood. The air grows colder, and a low, guttural moan echoes from the hallway. It's not just sound, it's like the walls themselves are breathing, waiting for something to happen. You're going to want to see this. The Apple AirPods, second generation, link and QR code are right on screen and down in the description. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The silence that follows is deafening. I'm not sure if I'm dreaming or if I've finally crossed into the asylum's world, and there's no telling what's waiting for me there. I take a shaky breath, trying to remind myself that this is all just a story, but the feeling in my chest says otherwise. The asylum isn't done with me yet. You think the brochure makes it sound like a spooky adventure, but the truth? It's a place where people were forgotten, not fascinated. The real story isn't about ghosts or thrill rides. It's about broken systems, overcrowding, and a lack of care for the people who lived there. The brochure paints it as a thrilling mystery, but the truth is, it's a tragic chapter in the history of mental health care. So next time you see that brochure, remember, the real story isn't about ghosts. It's about people and how we failed them. So, how did people even figure out that this place was haunted? Well, they started by asking the right questions. And they listened closely to the stories people told. They looked for patterns in the events, like when things happened and what people were doing. It wasn't just random spooky stuff. It was like a puzzle waiting to be solved. People started to notice that the strange happenings always seemed to happen in the same spots. It was like the house itself had a memory, and it wasn't letting go. Eventually, they pieced it all together. This place wasn't just creepy, it had a history that was still trying to be heard. And that's how we got here, trying to understand what happened. Now, here's a genuinely weird edge case. Some people claim that the asylum's basement has a room that only appears when you're not looking. You might walk by it a dozen times, but never catch a glimpse. It's like the building is playing tricks on your eyes. Others think it's just a place where the spirits of the patients are still waiting for someone to listen to their story. Either way, it's one of the weirdest things about this place. Like the building has its own secrets, and it's not telling them to anyone. What if someone didn't just stumble upon this place, but intentionally built it to trap people? Imagine a dark, twisted game where the rules are written in blood and the prize is madness. This isn't just an abandoned hospital. It's a labyrinth designed to break minds. Every wall, every hallway, every door is a test, a trap, a way to keep you from escaping. Picture this, a place where the walls aren't just walls, they are alive, watching, waiting. The sound of footsteps echoes, not from anyone, but from the building itself. What if this place was meant to be a prison for those who break the rules? What if the whispers aren't just echoes, but warnings from those who were trapped before? So what if this place was never meant to be abandoned? What if it's still waiting, still breathing, still watching? And what if we're the next ones to walk through its doors? You know that creepy old house in the woods? The one with the creaky floorboards and a locked door that's been sealed for decades. Well, this asylum is like that, but with more rooms, more ghosts, and a whole lot more history. It's not just bigger, it's deeper. Every hallway feels like it's leading somewhere darker, and the silence isn't just empty, it's full of stories that haven't been told yet. You might think you know what a haunted house feels like, but this asylum, it's like a haunted house that's been haunted by every haunted house you've ever heard of. So when you think about this place, don't just imagine a spooky setting. Think of it as a whole world of its own, where every room has a secret and every echo has a story. It's not just an abandoned building. It's a place that refuses to be forgotten. And if you're not careful, you might just end up being one of its stories. So the experts are still arguing about what really happened here. Some say it was all in the hands of a few troubled minds, while others believe there's something more at play. You see, some researchers think the asylum was just a place where people with mental health issues were locked up, and that the ghost stories are just folklore. There are even theories about the building being cursed, or maybe it's a kind of psychological trap that plays on the fears of those who enter. And then there are the people who say they've seen real things, voices, shadows, and even cold spots. But can we really trust what we see in the dark? So the debate continues. Was it real, or was it all in their heads? The answer might be hiding in the walls, waiting to be uncovered. So how did they pull off this spooky illusion? It all starts with a clever use of sound and silence. You see, the trick is in the timing of the echoes. The sound engineers set up microphones to capture the echoes perfectly. Then, they replay the recorded voices at just the right moment, making it sound like the ghosts are actually there. They even use the natural acoustics of the building to amplify the effect. The old stone walls and high ceilings make the sound bounce around like a ghostly echo chamber. The trick isn't just about the sound, it's about the way the audience's brain fills in the gaps. You hear the echo, you imagine the presence, and suddenly it feels real. And that's the clever trick that makes it all possible. It's not real, but it feels real. That's the power of sound, imagination, and a little bit of magic. A lot of people think haunted places are just spooky and dark, but the truth is, the real horror comes from what you bring with you. It's not the ghosts, it's your fears. They also assume the spirits are always angry or evil. But some of the most chilling hauntings are when the spirits are trying to reach out, not harm you. Another common mistake is not respecting the space. Haunted places often have a history, and trying to force your will on them can make things worse. Finally, people often forget to listen. The best way to understand a haunting is to pay attention to what's happening around you, not just what you expect to see. You know that weird symbol carved into the wall near the stairwell? Turns out, it's not just decoration, it's a map. Every line, every mark, points to a hidden room behind the wall. We thought we were just looking at graffiti, but this symbol was a clue left behind by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. It's like a secret language waiting to be decoded. The hallway is lined with old medical equipment, rusted beds, and a single flickering light. It's like stepping into a different time, a place where the past still lingers. And in the center of it all, there's a small, old desk. It's covered in faded notes, some of them in the same handwriting we saw in the journal. This is where the real story begins. This tiny detail, this symbol, was the key to unlocking the truth. Everything we thought we knew about the asylum is just the beginning of a much bigger mystery. So here's the thing, out of all the buildings that have ever been abandoned, only about 1 in 500 ever becomes an asylum. That's less than 0.2% of all abandoned structures. Imagine walking through a city, past hundreds of empty buildings, factories, schools, even churches, and only one of them is an asylum. That's how rare these places really are. So when you think about the number of people who have walked through these places, it's actually a tiny fraction of the population. Like, less than 1 in 1,000 people ever set foot in an asylum. And yet, there are stories that have been passed down, stories that have been told, stories that make us wonder, were they real or just the stuff of nightmares? So next time you hear a story about a haunted asylum, remember, it's not just a spooky tale. It's a rare, real place that once held real people and now holds something else entirely. You know that classic horror moment where the lights flicker and the shadowy figure appears in the corner of your eye? This moment made its way into pop culture in a pretty wild way. Here's a find worth sharing: the Amazon Echo Dot 5th Gen smart speaker. Point your camera at the QR code or use the description link. Subscribe for more where that came from. It showed up in a 2003 horror movie called The Grudge, where the protagonist experiences a series of terrifying visions that mirror real-life events. The scene became iconic because it tapped into our deepest fears: uncertainty, the unknown, and the idea that something is watching us. And even though it's a fictional moment, it's still one of the most recognizable scenes in horror history, thanks to its simple yet terrifying power. You know how we always talk about the ghosts, the screams, the cold spots? But what if the real mystery isn't in the spirits, it's in the people who built this place? What if the real question we should be asking is, why did they even build an asylum in the first place? Think about it. Asylums weren't just places for the mad. They were built for people who didn't fit into society. The ones who were labeled insane because they questioned the rules, or who just didn't conform to the norms of the time. So, you know what's really exciting? The future of haunted house investigations is already here. New tech is letting us explore these places with more clarity than ever before. Imagine using 3D scanning to create a full digital model of the place. It's like building a virtual twin of the asylum, complete with every crack and shadow. And let's not forget about AI. It's already helping to analyze audio, like ghostly whispers or strange echoes, and even predict where the most mysterious spots might be. With all these tools, we're not just exploring haunted places, we're uncovering hidden stories and maybe even solving old mysteries. The future of this kind of exploration is full of wonder, and I can't wait to see what's coming next. Even after all these years, there are things that just don't make sense. Some people swear they saw a shadow move when no one was around, or heard whispers that weren't actually spoken. Some say the walls still remember what happened inside them, and maybe that's why the echoes never fade. Maybe the building itself is trying to tell a story we've yet to understand. No one can say for sure what's really out there, and that's part of the mystery. Maybe it's just the wind, or maybe it's something that never left. So, even though we've explored every corner, there are still questions left unanswered. The asylum isn't done telling its story yet. Did you know that some asylums were actually built in the 1800s using bricks made from human bone? Yep, it's true. Some old hospitals used human remains in their construction for protection, a dark twist on ancient rituals. Asylums often had secret passageways and hidden cells, used to contain patients who were deemed too dangerous. These rooms were sometimes sealed off with heavy stone doors that could only be opened from the inside. Some asylums were even used during wartime as temporary hospitals. This meant they had operating rooms, surgical tools, and sometimes even body bags, making them even more eerie to explore today. In some cases, asylums were repurposed into prisons, schools, or even churches, giving them a haunted history that stretches far beyond just the patients who lived there. Let me take a step back and recap everything we've uncovered so far. We've seen the eerie decay of the asylum, heard the whispers of the past, and felt the chill of something lingering in the walls. The history of this place is dark: abuse, madness, and a tragic end. Every corner of this building seems to hold a memory, waiting to be uncovered. We've explored the basement, the east wing, and even the attic. Each room has its own story, and some of them are still telling us more. The atmosphere here is thick with mystery, like the air is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen next. And remember, this isn't just a spooky story, it's a real place with real history. Every creak, every whisper has a reason. Did you know that some asylums were built with secret tunnels? These were used to move patients secretly, sometimes even to other towns or even countries. These tunnels were sometimes filled with traps or even used as escape routes for patients who wanted to flee their suffering. In some cases, the tunnels were even used to move supplies or to hide evidence of unethical experiments that took place in the asylum. So next time you hear about an abandoned asylum, remember, there might be more than just ghosts hiding beneath the surface. Well, that's it for today's spooky journey through the haunted halls of the old asylum. I hope you had as much fun as I did, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more eerie adventures. If you're ever in the mood for a little mystery and mayhem, you know where to find me. Until then, stay curious, stay spooky, and stay safe. Thanks for sticking with me through the whole ride, And don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss another episode. Stay weird, stay wild, and I'll see you next time. And remember, the best way to deal with the unknown is to explore it, like we did today. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your heart full of wonder. All right, I'll leave you with this. The past is never truly gone, it just waits in the shadows, ready to be discovered. Stay spooky, folks. Did you know that the Blithburgh Church holds one of the most unusual and darkly fascinating secrets in British history? It's a place where the past bleeds into the present, and the stories are anything but gentle. Imagine standing in a quiet, ancient church, where the air is thick with mystery, and the echoes of the past seem to whisper through the stone. What could possibly make this place so infamous? But first, let's take a moment to look at the church itself. Its architecture, its carvings, and the way it seems to hold its secrets within its stone bones. It's not just the architecture that's intriguing. It's the stories that have been etched into its walls, waiting for someone to uncover them. So, what happens when a place like Blithburgh Church becomes the stage for something both sacred and sinister? Let's find out. So what exactly are we talking about? It's not just a church, it's a place where history, mystery, and blood all mix together. The Blithburgh Church is more than stone and mortar. It's a story of survival, secrets, and the eerie echoes of the past. This church, built in the 12th century, has stood for over 800 years, but its history is anything but simple. It's been a place of worship, a refuge, and, according to legend, a site of violent crime. The term Bloody Harvest refers to a brutal event that took place during the 15th century. It wasn't a harvest in the traditional sense. It was a violent act, a dark chapter that still lingers in the church's history. So, to sum it up, we're not just talking about a church. We're talking about a place where history is etched into its walls, where legend and fact blur, and where the past still feels alive. You might think this is just a medieval church, but it's actually a time capsule of human behavior. Every stone here tells a story of greed, fear, and survival. Understanding this place helps us see how people dealt with death, disease, and power, all things that still shape our world today. It's not just about the past. It's a mirror that shows us how we react to crises and why we should be cautious about what we believe. So yes, it's a church, but it's also a window into the hidden, often violent, human instincts that still live within us. Let's fast forward to the 12th century, when Blithburgh Church was just getting its feet under it. This was a time of big changes, and the church was at the heart of it all. The church wasn't just a place to pray, it was a center for the whole community. People gathered here for weddings, funerals, and even to hear the local gossip. But the church also had its share of trouble. It was attacked, burned, and rebuilt over the centuries, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Here's a find worth sharing: the Stanley Quencher 40 Oz tumbler. Point your camera at the QR code or use the description link. Subscribe for more where that came from. By the 16th century, Blithburgh had become a quiet but still important place. The church was a symbol of resilience, surviving the tides of history, and today, it stands as a testament to the enduring power of faith and community, still welcoming visitors who want to see the history of a place that's seen it all. So imagine a church that's not just a place to pray, but a place where people used to fight and even die. It's like a castle, but with stained glass and crosses. Now, this church is in a town called Blithburgh, and it's got a secret. Some people got hurt there, and that's what makes it so special and a little scary. The people who were hurt there didn't just get hurt by accident. They were part of a big fight, like a game of tag, but with swords and no time to run. Even though it's a church, it wasn't always peaceful. Sometimes, it was a place of conflict, like a battlefield with prayers and blood. So, the church in Blithburgh is like a storybook. It's not just about love and peace, but also about battles, bravery, and what happens when people fight for their beliefs. So the first thing you need to do is set the stage, literally. Imagine the church, its stone walls, the creaking beams, and the faint smell of damp earth and old wood. You'll find the church nestled in the countryside, surrounded by fields and a sleepy village. It's a place where history feels alive, like it's waiting to be told. Inside, the air is thick with stories. You can almost hear the echoes of the past, like whispers from the long-dead villagers who once gathered here. But here's the twist: this isn't just a regular church. It's a place where history, mystery, and a little bit of the macabre come together in a way that's both eerie and fascinating. So, the setup is all about creating that atmosphere, where every corner feels like it holds a secret, and every wall might be hiding a long-forgotten story. Once the trap is triggered, the real action begins. A hidden lever inside the church's tower swings down, pulling a heavy iron bar across the floor like a giant sledgehammer. This bar slams into a wooden beam that's been carefully positioned, sending a shockwave through the church's structure. It's like a medieval version of a car crash, but with wood and iron. The force of the impact crushes the grain sacks that are stacked below, turning them into a pile of splinters and dust. It's a real-life version of a grain mill, but with a terrifying twist. The mechanism doesn't stop there. It also triggers a series of small wooden traps that are hidden in the floor, designed to catch and hold any unfortunate souls who might have been standing too close. It's a perfect blend of engineering and horror, showing how the church's design was both functional and deadly. Every step you take could mean your last. Now, here's the clever twist that makes this whole thing work. The trapdoor isn't just a simple trap, it's a cleverly disguised part of the floor itself. The mechanism is hidden beneath the stone floor, and it's designed to look like an ordinary part of the structure. No one would suspect it's a trap until it's too late. Once the trapdoor opens, it reveals a hidden chamber below, where the victims are caught and their bodies are left to decay. It's a masterpiece of deception and design. This clever twist is what makes the Blithburg Church one of the most chilling examples of medieval cunning and horror. It's not just a trap, it's a lesson in engineering and fear. So what exactly is going on here? The church isn't just a building, it's a living thing made of stone and time. These stones, they're not just rocks, they're full of stories, whispers of the past, and even a little bit of blood. When you touch these stones, you're not just feeling the cold, they're holding onto the energy of the people who lived and died here. This is more than history. It's a kind of science, like a memory stored in mineral form. It's like the stones are part of a bigger system, a network of memory, where every crack and crevice holds a piece of the past. The church isn't just a place to pray, it's a living archive of human experience. And here's the twist. Some of those memories are more than just stories. They're real, etched into the very fabric of the place. That's why the church still feels so heavy, so full of history, like it's humming with the voices of the past. So next time you walk through a place like Blithburg, remember, you're not just visiting a church. You're stepping into a living museum of time, memory, and maybe even a little bit of magic. So imagine, if you will, a medieval harvest festival, but instead of apples and wine, the guests are all made of stone, and the feast is held inside a church. It's like a stone version of a family dinner, but with a lot more solemnity. The church is the table, the stones are the guests, and the stained glass is the light coming through. It's not just a church, it's a stone banquet hall where time has frozen the feast in place. This analogy might sound silly, but it captures the essence of the church as a place of both worship and solemn remembrance, where the past is preserved like a stone monument. So, when you walk through Blithburg Church, you're not just visiting a place of worship. You're stepping into a frozen moment of history, where the dead are still gathered around the table of time. Now, here's the part that sounds like it's from a spooky story, but it's actually real. The Blithburg Church has a unique feature that you won't find in most places. This is the church's famous sacristy, a small room where priests prepare for Mass. But what makes it special is the way the light hits the stained glass during certain times of the day. The light is so intense that it's said to create a kind of bloody harvest effect, where the red hues of the glass seem to bleed into the stone, giving the church its nickname. This isn't just a trick of the light, it's a real phenomenon that's been observed for centuries. It's like the church is alive, telling its own story through color and shadow. So next time you think you're hearing a legend, remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. And in Blithburg, the church is both a place of worship and a masterclass in natural art. Myth number 1 is that the Blithburg Church was built entirely from the bones of the dead. But that's just not true. The church was built using locally sourced materials, like stone and timber, not human remains. People think the church was a place for macabre rituals, but it was actually a place of worship and community. The stained glass windows were meant to inspire awe, not horror. The real horror of Blithburg lies in its history of plague and war, not in its architecture. The church stood through centuries of suffering, offering comfort in the darkest times. So no, the church wasn't built on bones. It was built on faith, resilience, and the enduring human spirit. Let's move on to the next myth. And remember, not all stories are as scary as they seem. So here's the second myth, that the Blithburg church was built on a burial ground. But, as we've seen, the evidence just doesn't support that. The church was built on land that was already used for farming, not for burial. You might think the church is standing on ancient graves, but that's not the case. The soil there is perfectly normal for a farming area, not for a cemetery. There's no evidence of burial mounds or grave goods around the site. Some people even say that the church was built over a pagan site, but again, the historical records don't back that up. The church was built in the 12th century, and there's no mention of any pagan remains or rituals in the area. So, if you're looking for a spooky burial ground under the church, you might be in for a disappointment. The real story of Blithburg is about community, faith, and the quiet resilience of everyday people. Okay, hear me out. The Fire TV Stick 4K streaming device. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description and hit subscribe for more pics like this. And that's why the second myth is also busted. The church isn't built on a burial ground, it's built on farmland, and that's the real story behind the Blithburg church. You might be surprised to learn that the Blithburg church isn't just a historical relic, it's hiding in plain sight in your everyday life. Think about the way you walk through a city or the way you pass by a stone wall, and you might be walking past something that's centuries old. Every time you step on a cobblestone street or pass a medieval-style building, you're standing on the same ground that people like the monks of Blithburg once walked. These places are full of stories waiting to be uncovered. Even your local library or town hall could have a hidden history, like the Blithburg church. Sometimes, the past isn't buried, it's just waiting to be noticed in the familiar places around us. So next time you're out and about, take a moment to look around. You might just find something ancient, like the Blithburg church, hiding in your everyday world. Let me tell you about a real-world example that goes surprisingly hard. Imagine a small English village, where history and mystery walk hand in hand. This village is called Blithburg, and it's home to a church that has a story as dark as it is fascinating. The church itself is a masterpiece of medieval architecture, but it's the events that took place there that truly capture the imagination. Now, picture this. A group of people, maybe a mix of farmers, villagers, and curious onlookers, gathered around the church. They're not there for a celebration, but for something far more sinister. The story is about the bloody harvest, a time when the church and the land were both intertwined in a way that blurred the line between the sacred and the profane. It was a time of ritual, of sacrifice, and of deep connection to the earth. And yet, despite the weight of the story, it's a tale that goes surprisingly hard, not in terms of difficulty, but in how it holds up under scrutiny. It's a reminder that history is never just about the past, but about the people who lived it. Now, here's the real kicker. This wasn't just a normal harvest. It was a record-breaking, cranked to 11 extreme event like nothing we've seen before. Imagine the entire village coming together, not just to gather crops, but to push the limits of what a harvest could be, like a medieval version of a speed record. This wasn't just about food, it was about legacy, about proving that this harvest would be remembered for generations, like a medieval sports record. And in the end, they didn't just break records, they set a new standard for what a harvest could be, turning it into a festival of extremes and endurance. The storm hits Blithburg like a beast unleashed. The church, already weakened, now faces the wrath of nature. Roofs creak, windows shatter, and the very air is filled with the sound of chaos. Inside, the nave becomes a battlefield of wind and water. Pews are thrown sideways, books fly through the air, and the stained glass cracks under the pressure of the storm. The villagers, now trapped inside, scramble to protect the relics and sacred texts. Some try to shield the altar, others attempt to secure the stained glass, but the storm is too powerful. In the chaos, a small child is separated from the group, lost in the wreckage. The storm doesn't just destroy the church, it threatens to tear apart the very heart of the community. As the storm begins to subside, the damage is clear. The church is no longer a place of worship. It's a graveyard of stone and memory, waiting for the hands of restoration to bring it back to life. Now, let's talk about the dark side of Blithburg. You won't find this in the brochures, but it's part of the story. The church has a history that's more than just stained glass and sermons. Back in the 17th century, the church became a place of bloodshed. During the English Civil War, it was a battleground. People fought here, and the walls held more than just prayers, they held the echoes of conflict. There were even rumors of executions taking place in the churchyard. Some say the earth still remembers the violence that happened there. It's a place where history turned violent, and the people who lived through it never forgot. So, while the church is a place of beauty and worship today, its past is a reminder that not all stories are told in the light. Some are buried, hidden beneath the stones and silence. Before you go, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell us in the comments what you'd like us to make next. We read every single one. Thank you so much for watching. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.